makes the DDT attempt. Slice bread number 2. He gets it. Doug Williams will bring the pure title back to England.
Now I know ROH stands for pure wrestling. But in my mind at least, ROH stands for Ring of Hardcore.
Oh my God!
Homicide has just absolutely crossed the line.
And then Mick Foley with the fire extinguisher!
Tennis racket!
History! Liger bomb!
This right here is the most important belt in North America! And it's because of you. This is your belt. Samoa Joe! You're going to carry this belt. Carry it like a champion. Carry it like you got self-respect.
I'm burning up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Straight Shooting with Samoa Joe and CM Punk. First off, back in June, you guys, for the first time, did your 1 hour draw in Dayton. Where did the idea going an hour come from?
Well, first off, I'm the incomparable Samoa Joe.
Well, he was drunk.
Let me set the stage. So, Punk was out in beautiful...
Wait.
All right.
Wait. This is going to happen a lot. He's going to tell his story, and then I'll tell the truth. Go ahead.
So, Punk was out in beautiful, sunny Southern California, where I live, not where he lives. And he was out there standing. We happened to be at a bar, a local favorite of mine, which I'm sure many of the stories that you'll hear in this tape will originate. And so I've had a few drinks at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Punk's sitting next to me, and we're sitting there, and we know that we have this match in Dayton coming up, and Punk asked me, actually he baits me, and goes, "Hey, so what do you think about this match in Dayton? Like, we got to do something kind of cool, you know? We didn't really haven't done anything cool yet, like, something, gotta have, like, kind of like a good match." And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. He's like, "Yeah, I go, "Hey, it'd be funny. Maybe we did one of those stupid 1 hour draws like you and Chris Hero do." And he goes, "Really? You think so?" He's like, "Yeah." And I swear to God, not 5 minutes later, this asshole's on the phone with Gabe. "Oh yeah, Joe said we should go an hour. It'll be a great 1 hour draw. Why not? It'd be a great idea. I think that, Yeah, didn't you agree to it? Like I didn't. The words "Let's do a 1 hour draw." The W didn't get out of my mouth before he was on the phone. He agrees. We're gonna do the draw on Dayton, and it's gonna be great and fantastic. And now he's gonna tell his bullshit version of the story.
Wrong. You got the locale wrong. You got everything wrong.
Oh, the locale wrong?
Dude, we were in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. The way I
drunk though, right?
You were drunk as shit. The way I remember it is, me being me, I've got to figure out a way to not put him over. So basically, Joe's running out of, opponents. He's steamrolling through everybody, and we were sitting there talking, and it was just like, it didn't seem like it was going anywhere. Like, I don't have the best win-loss record in Ring of Honor, so it just seemed like kind of out of nowhere that I was getting a title shot. So we were sitting.
The kid with small potatoes. He needed me.
Yeah, I did. Trying to figure out like why I had the title shot or why we were even wrestling, because it was just kind of thrown together. And Joe, to your credit, you're like, I can't just beat you, and then that kills you, and then I got nobody left. We need to do something. Blah 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 blah.
The kid's charitable. I know what I'm doing.
So Joe was drunk, and he goes, we should do a draw. And the true part about the story is, as soon as he said draw, I went, hey Gabe, I'm driving, and I look in the rearview mirror, and I just see Joe like I see him starting to think about it, but since he's drunk, he's really, really slow about it. And Gabe was like, are you sure Joe wants to? I'm like, yeah, man, he just said hour draw on Dayton. It'll keep me strong. It'll make the belt look even better, because that's all I was concerned about, was trying to put the belt over more, And sure enough, after Joe sobered up, he still somehow managed to agree to it. And he only had about a week to do cardio.
Yeah.
So I think you did pretty good, kid. You did all right.
That's the best. Is he's like, hey, so I'm really excited about this draw we're gonna do. And I'm like, we're gonna do a draw. I didn't think you were serious about that shit. And he goes,
why were you drunk? Where the hell were we?
Because I was hanging out with you, bro.
Where the hell were we?
I need to be drunk to fucking tolerate you for over 2 hours. So
in the car.
So I got sobered up, and then I'm like, I don't know about that. Are you sure about that? He's like, he kind of gave me like, if you don't want to do it, if you're a pussy or something. I'm like, well, fuck you, I'm no pussy. I'll 1 hour draw my ass. I'll fucking do that right now.
Right.
Ass. So that's the story about how.
That's how that came about.
That's how that came about.
The week or two we had left, it actually.
We kind of.
We made it into a good idea. It actually further began to make sense after we bounced it off Gabe, and Gabe came up with nothing. But
Gabe said, "Okay, guys, you guys go out there and do it."
I'm so glad Gabe's not doing this interview. We get to tell Gabe stories.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Ask me about FIP Gabe stories.
Yeah, ask me about how many things. Ask me about the various objects he has thrown in temper tantrums. We'll name them off.
Memories of putting that match together.
Well, first off, it was in the midst of a helicopter, because the Dayton locker room's so small that we had to go dress in the parking lot. At least it was warm, and but there's like a helipad in the back of the Dayton building, and so it's like we're sitting there and whatever. I guess they had a new pilot, so he's practicing his landings all day. So every time we sat there, it'd be like we talked for a couple minutes, and then it'd be like, and then we'd have to do the mass unit clear out, the helicopter would land and take off again, and we start talking for a few more minutes, but. Calling it was pretty simple.
Calling it was super easy.
Yeah.
I had a ton of ideas in my head, leading up to it. That's why I like to know who I'm wrestling beforehand for Ring of Honor, because I can at least think about the match. Occasionally, I'll think of something and I'll have to write it down because my memory is not the best anymore. I had a ton of. We knew I think we benefited from knowing that we were going an hour and not, the fans obviously not having a clue, as opposed to our second hour draw, which I think everybody, at least about 75%, least 75% of the crowd knew that it was probably going to be a draw, or it was at least going, 50, 55 minutes, something like that. We had a completely clean slate. And there's a lot of killing time. That's where all the headlock ideas came from. When we both punked out that.
Don't call it killing time. Call it.
When we both punked out that fan.
You know what? I will thank that fan right now. That was about the best goddamn thing you could have done at that point.
Yes.
I remember we were sitting there and like.
Unless you've already killed yourself.
Yeah, unless you've already killed yourself from the embarrassment. No. I remember just prior to that, before we pounded out of the ring, you know, we're sitting there, we're in the ring, and I just kind of like was like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't really got a lot left to do. So then after that, I kind of got reinvigorated, and we continued on with the match.
But yeah, and even though a lot of the headlock stuff was talked about, there's a lot of stuff in that match that's on the fly, just because you know you think you have enough stuff, or and then you don't. You run out of stuff to do, and then I guess that's what separates good workers from the rest of the pack, because we just. I don't know, it was almost like we were on autopilot, and that's where a lot of the majority of the story came from that we played off of in the second match.
What are your memories of the crowd reaction?
It was pretty cool. I was really surprised.
I was shocked as hell, because I came out and I was getting a lot more babyface heat than I thought I was gonna. I mean, we'd been in Dayton before, but was it the first time in the building?
No, when we were there the first time ever. We were in that building.
Okay, yeah.
So it was the third time we were there.
I wasn't on that show.
We were in Wilmington the second show.
Yeah,
right.
It really wasn't like it. I mean, the Dayton crowd up to that point wasn't. I mean, it was a good crowd, but it wasn't really a super hot.
But the last
crowd.
time we were in Dayton, we were in a different building, and that was
that went out by the
Saints.
thing.
Yeah, that was the Saints.
God,
prophecy match.
remember those two girls that came down? That were like managers in Special K for that little bit.
Two girls.
And then I had them all hooked up, and then Daniels took forever in the shower. That's when he got rid of Daniels, and then Daniels took forever in the shower.
Ah!
And then they took off back to wherever they were going.
OMD.
Yeah.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. The crowd reaction shocked me, because I was getting more. To me, it was more of an even matchup, and I figured there'd be a lot more heel heat on me. But it worked out the way we worked and structured the match, because it was more of a, the athletic contest than kind of an old-time heat getting babyface heel matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I was really surprised, because I just didn't think that the crowd would be as receptive to it. I mean,
they were. They stayed with it the whole time.
Yeah, they stayed with it the whole
like
time, which was
molten hot at the end, and that helps out a lot, especially when you're in for an hour.
Especially because, like I said, Dayton was kind of a new market for us down there, and we, I think a lot of the fans who've come to Ring of Honor at that time when they first come through were really just kind of there for the flash and the bang, and I personally didn't think like a Dayton crowd was ready for kind of a 1 hour epic saga of drama, and if you want to call it that, I don't know. But they held through the entire thing, and it was a good time.
What are your memories of the match itself?
It was, it was a lot more fun and a lot easier to wrestle than I thought it was going to be, because it was a lot more. It was much more natural. I mean, I've done 15 minutes. I've wrestled for 15 minutes, and it's been more difficult than wrestling that hour for me personally. Just from a mental game. I mean, physically, hell, you're out there for an hour wrestling, but I think mentally, because you have the time, you're able to develop things and do things and really take your time with things and focus on things the right way. And I think it worked out. I really enjoyed it, me personally. The only time I came close to doing an hour, and I don't think it was a legit hour. I mean, I don't think it was more like 45 minutes, but it was was in some weird little Southern Colorado carny show, and I mean it was what it was. I mean, but that was definitely, for me, it gave me a lot of confidence in my ability to kind of go out there on the fly and do what I do and wrestle, and it was enjoyable.
I remember, and you're not stiff at all, so everybody out there, don't believe the hype, but I remember getting slapped really hard, and then I remember getting my knee clipped, and then I remember wrestling hurt for the rest of the match, but, accidents happen.
Yeah, accidents.
Yes. That's okay, though, because I figure I wrestle better when I'm hurt anyway. I don't know why. It just makes me work harder, I suppose.
Wounded animal.
I kind of consider all my other hour draw stuff. I did, all my long matches and hour draws with Hero.
Dude, I'm gonna have to move this
sorry. I did an hour draw with Cabana in Wisconsin. I might have done a couple others, but to me they were like I drew off all those experiences and I used them all in this match, and it was all pretty much like practice. to tell the story that I wanted to tell within an hour, and I got to do it with Joe. So I just remember it going like really, really well. You know, like I said, we had a clean slate. We had the benefit of knowing that we were going an hour, and we just had to do the right things at the right times. And we didn't blow any of our big moves. We didn't waste anything.
Yeah, that was.
So that, to me, like a lot of people will say that's, you know, the worst match of the series, but you know, got the series off to a hell of a start. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't burn through pretty much any of our moveset. You know, everything made sense, and we didn't hit like all our big stuff till like the last 10 minutes. You know, so
if that, I don't think we even hit it at all.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a big thing too. Is that I really wanted to avoid is that, you know, there's nothing I hate more than the kind of like, it's just such a token like, hey, here's these two dudes out there. They're gonna go out there and wrestle, and then it's gonna be this big epic match. But of course, every big epic match, everybody kicks out everybody's finisher 3 or 4 times, and I can't say that I haven't done it in my career, but I mean, it's not something I really enjoy watching or doing, because I mean, you lose a little bit of the suspense. I mean,
yeah, we knew we were doing a rematch. We just didn't know when.
Yeah.
You know.
And we thought it was gonna be way
Right.
down
So
the line.
it was always like, you know, and it's kind of going off on a tangent, but what a lot of guys that are starting off today, or maybe have been in the business for 2-3 years, don't understand is if you're working somebody for the first time, like the first time you've ever wrestled, you don't do everything you can do, because there's always going to be rematches, and then there's going to be a rematch from that rematch, you know. So you never tried, especially if, you know, you're not in the main event, even though we were that night. Actually, no, we weren't.
No, we weren't. There was a
they
match
had
after us.
yeah. So there is something to be said for
Follow that.
saving something for the, you know, the next match. I mean, everybody would just like to go out there and, you know, go 100 miles an hour and do everything in the book, and you know, they're like the 4th match on the show. You're not saving anything for the main event. But I think we did just a really, really good job of telling the story we wanted to tell. I mean, I look like $1 million because, you know, Joe didn't beat me. You know, it looked many times.
I was around like 500,000, but I think it still looked good.
In the meantime, you know, Joe looked beatable for like one of the first times. You know, he didn't hit like his finisher on me. I hit the plunge and I fell out of the ring. So it was like kind of left doubt in the fans' mind whether, you know, I could beat Joe or whether he could put me away. So I think it was booked brilliantly. You know, everybody in the match like came out looking like $1 million, and even Homicide, who just recently turned heel, runs out and like ruins the big, you know, celebratory moment. We just have this epic match, and Homicide comes out, and fans just shit all over him.
That is like the first time, like, because D is such an awesome wrestler, and when, you know, when Side comes out there and he does his stuff, I mean, it's hard for fans to boo him because he's that good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember like Homicide. We were, you know, after the whole deal was over, I mean, that was the first time, I think, in Ring of Honor where he got legitimate, like, hateful heel heat because of his actions in the ring, you know. And normally, you know, with a guy like Homicide, like, he was busting his ass to be a heel. He was doing everything heelish he could possibly do, but he's so good and he's so entertaining to watch in the ring that, you know, fans would look at him and they're like, you know, how can I boo this guy? And I mean, after that, you know, when he came out, we accomplished a lot of goals. I think that was a major thing that we all talked about after the match. Was the goal was to kind of set up future challengers for another big match in the future for, you know, ROH that the fans would be interested in seeing. B, the hour draw just to have something. You know, it was something unheard of in wrestling today, especially unless it's like an Iron Man and stuff like that.
Plus, my whole point was the NWA title belt seemed to virtually revolve around these hour matches.
Yeah.
You know, I've listened to Harley tell me countless stories, and you know, building up the Ring of Honor belt, it only made sense to, you know, add some hour draws, you know, in there, because like it was like the legacy of the NWA title. And we're just kind of trying to put that shine on the Ring of Honor belt.
Mm-hmm. And D, because I forgot what C was. Jesus Christ.
I don't think Jesus is calling this. Hello? Hi, I'm doing an interview. Oh, you should be.
Yeah, she should be.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, that's cool. And she just wants to know something. Yeah. You know, people paid money to.
Oh, somebody wants to book us.
Somebody wants to book us.
Woo! Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just give him my number or whatever.
Fuck, give mine out. You're not my agent.
And then I'll negotiate Joe's money. And you know, he needs a food allowance.
Yes. It's a fat joke.
Yes, ma'am.
So unimaginative.
I'm an idiot now, she
Yeah.
says. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off now. Too.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Shit, I better turn mine off too.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
I'm gonna put it on buzz because I still want to know who calling me.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Where was? Oh yeah, D. Because I forgot what C was kind of. And I will give Gabe a little booking credit for this. Was Homicide coming out the end and kind of establishing his whole heel persona, which eventually led to the Raw Wilders and the big dick that he is to the fans today.
Yep, and props to the Dayton fans because it seems like they come out to have a good time,
Dayton
cheer the
really
faces, boo the heels. It's just everything. The scene was perfectly
Come
set.
out to have a good time and have fun. And
I think a
watch
lot of the
wrestling.
fans were shocked that the match was that good. They were probably expecting a good match, but something that good and that.
Because we had one previous, but I remember your knee was a shambles.
My knee was
and my
messed
arm,
up. Your elbow was messed up. And
I dislocated my elbow and we both kind of walked up and looked at each other. Just
plus,
like,
it was non-title. If
Yeah.
I beat you, who cares? But yeah, Homicide got Monster over as a heel, and that started pretty much,
that kind of set up
everything
everything
that led to where
yeah.
Ring of Honor is right now. I was better off for the match. Joe was better off for the match. Homicide was too.
And so was the company, so we felt good about it.
Woo-hoo. Is there anything you would have done different in the match now looking back on it?
Yeah, he wouldn't have messed up that flare bump.
I wouldn't have messed up the flare bump. Maybe tree trunks for legs over here. Didn't have to kick my fucking knee and hyperextend it. That wasn't any good. That's the one thing I would change about the match.
Yeah, because that actually led to him being hurt for quite a long time. That sucked.
Yeah, but I don't know. Honestly, there was an awkward moment when we were on the top rope and Joe just kind of hit me with some weird, I don't know what it was. That was my fault though.
So I was watching Kung Fu the night before.
I don't know. But honestly, no, there probably isn't because I think you watch it now and it's almost a year later and it still holds up, and it set the stage for the other two matches. And I can't complain about it.
Now, there was a post-match promo. How much of that was scripted?
None.
Did I do the promo?
Yeah.
Yeah, then none of it.
Yeah.
I don't script any of my promos.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with writing anything down or scripting promos. If guys have to do it, sometimes it's a good idea. And I'll admit, if I hear something in a song or somebody says something on TV or on the radio or anything, somebody can say a saying to me on the street, some guy at the deli or something. I will write it down if I think it's a good idea because, once again, I'll forget it because my brain is shot. But when I grab the mic and I speak, I'll think about what I'm going to say, but I certainly never write anything down. It all just, to me, it comes from the heart, because it's, when you're interviewed on TV, say if I was a football player or whatever, and the interviewer's asking me questions, the football player doesn't have anything written down or nothing scripted.
Hi, Mom.
So, yeah, everything I ever said always comes straight from the heart, and since there's no filter in between my mouth and my brain,
It really isn't.
that's usually why my promos are really interesting, and I meant everything I said.
All right, the original booking plan was for the second 1 hour draw to be on 12/4, but then Steve Carino canceled off the.
Yeah, it was
How about
supposed to be on
that?
12/4.
Yes, it was. But when Carino canceled on 10/16, it was moved up. What were your thoughts of doing the other 1 hour draw sooner than expected?
Dude, I absolutely hated it. I was pissed.
Yeah, I remember trying to figure out some way around it or something different
in
we
fact,
could do.
and the funny part is we were once again back together in Southern California when we heard about it, like we were in the original.
Like 4 or 5 days before the...
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 days, and I was drunk again, believe it or not.
Hard to believe.
And I remember Gabe gave us a call, and he's like, oh, Carino canceled, 0-1, pulled him from the show. So I saw friends with him. 0-1 pulled him from the show, and he goes, he's like, the only main I could conceivably think of that would be any type of replacement in Chicago would be you and Punk again. And of course, because the first match had done so well, it was our intention. Like, no, that's BS. You know, like we really want this.
It wasn't. We didn't think it was built up enough.
Yeah, we didn't think it was built up enough because and of course because it was a replacement main event, it felt rushed. So like
cheapened it.
It cheapened it. You know, like to us, we were like, oh, that sucks. You know, we have this because it was supposed to be this slow simmer program. That after the match, me, Punk, Gabe all sat down and we decided this is going to be a slow simmer, and you know, Punk's going to come here. And you know, I'm gonna have the belt, and then here comes Punk, you know, kind of making his way up, and it was gonna be this slow build till the fans pretty much begged to have this rematch.
Yeah, it was another instance of me getting a title shot for like absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
It was just like
here. So we're like, you know, and we wanted it to, you know, we wanted the program to play out where the fans, were Ring of Honor fans, and people who watch the product were saying, we want to see this rematch, we want to see this rematch, we want to see this rematch, and you know. Then all of a sudden we hear, oh, you know, 5 days later you're gonna have the rematch in Chicago on, you know, 5 days notice. You know, I was pissed. You know, I'm like, oh, that kind of throws out all our plans. But at the same time, you know, this is a company about, you know, satisfying the fans who buy a ticket to come see ROH. So you know, you got all these Chicago fans who are, you know, who it's a new market for us too. So it's kind of like we don't want to screw them over because they were expecting Samoa Joe versus Steve Corino, and you know, if we gave them anything less than that, you know, to us that'd be disappointing our fans, and that was Gabe's kind of look at it. I felt, well, you know, maybe they can take the hit this one time, and we'll, you know, then down the line we'll give them something good, but you know, we'll bicker and fight, but when it comes down to business, I mean, hey, you know, we're paid to do what the booker tells us, so we kind of went, all right, well, we have our reservations about it, but when we'll go do it, we'll give 100% to it. So now instead of having a week of doing cardio, I had 5 days to do cardio, and
and he had me there too.
Yeah, and him there, which was kind of a help.
And really. He was drunk.
And I was drunk, and so you know, going into the match, we weren't too excited about it, but I think as the days leading up to the match, we kind of got the right mindset. Said, all right, well, let's do this again, and hell, let's do another 60. But now we're thinking, we just had this great 60-minute match. If we do anything less than the other 60-minute match, not only have we ruined the slow simple program, but we've pretty much, you know, kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and you know, we just felt like it would be a very, very bad idea any way you look at it. So
no pressure
at all in that aspect. So basically, you got a topper, which everybody was saying was a really, really good match. A lot of fan feedback and so that Gabe said, "Oh, everybody's raving about it." Oh, you know, saying this is the best match in ROH history. So now we have to beat the best match in ROH history by having another 60-minute draw, and hopefully it'll be better. Yay for me.
Yeah, he pretty much summed it all up. I remember being like almost angry, like you know. I mean, I was hot at Carino. You know, there's nothing he could do about it, but you know.
I sent him.
You got a filthy email.
Yeah, I sent him one too.
You know, because we're.
I love you, Steve, but
yeah, we're trying to do something here, and it kind of threw our plans off. But not to mention, once again, I was hurt. I had a really screwed up back. Yeah. You know. I
mean, and Carino's kids more over than him in 0-1 anyway, so I don't know why they called. I said it. That's me.
Silly question. Which is the backup camera, and which is? That's the backup. So I'm gonna look at that one.
Yeah, because I want dramatic impact.
Just because.
In your face, CM Punk, the eyes to you.
That's right. It's all about the eyes.
Ooh. What were we saying?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I got nothing.
Continue.
Memories putting that match together.
Honestly, going in, I was hurt.
So was I.
Yeah. Your knees were still shot.
No, my back. And you were late.
Your back and my leg.
He was late.
Yeah, I was late. Yeah. Missed my try.
Somebody knew to hang out with Mick Foley.
Yeah, the other reason why we don't want to do this is because my leg was shot. I had heard it a couple weeks earlier. I think in New York.
Yeah, you should have seen his leg.
Yeah,
it
was disgusting.
It was like a pumpkin. He was sitting at my house. He had to elevate the damn thing because his shin. Like all this fluid would drain into his shin and his ankle, and it would just blow up like the size of a small gourd. It was great. I wanted to lance it. I just wanted to attack him while he was sleeping and just cut it open and a bunch of water fall out.
My leg was a mess, and I remember I did the match in Dayton, and I couldn't get my kick pad off because my leg was so swollen. And like these things are elastic, and I could not get my kick pad off. It took me an hour to get my kick pad off. I damn near cried through the whole process. Like it took like Punk and like I think it was like D, who was laughing the entire time, like grabbing each side of the kick pad and like slowly jerking it off me, and I was just like, oh, and like I screamed. And I remember we drove all night. We got to Chicago, and we were staying with Ace Steel, and I remember I put my leg up that night and in hopes that it would drain. It did drain out, but by the time we got to the show, my leg had blown up all over again, and I was icing it. I walked right into the dressing room. I said, I need ice. They put my leg up on a Smith machine. And
it looked like an infirmary because
Yeah.
I wrestled twice the night before in Dayton. You know, I wrestled in Homicide, and then I wrestled the 6-man. Not easy matches, you know. So we had everything working against us. The timing was bad. We were rushed into this match. We were both hurt. We were both literally laying on the. This is how we called the match. We talked about.
I literally talked the match. I was on my back. Punk's on his back, on his stomach with ice on his back. I'm on my back like this, and our heads are right here. I'm like, okay, now what do you want to do? All right, cool. And I mean,
and Gabe's running up to us every 5 minutes. Hey,
how's it coming together?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it coming together? And I mean, it was so bad. If Foley walked in, looked at my leg, and goes, "Good God, you're gonna wrestle tonight?" I'm like, I don't really want to, but
that's why I had that weird patch on my back to start the match. Because for some reason, I thought the Ben Gay patch was gonna. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, in fact, because of that too, we didn't really get a lot together at all. I mean, I remember we went to the ring, and at points, I was kind of in there going, I have no idea where we're going with this, but it kind of just ended up going real well.
And once again, just like the first match, a lot of that. The basic premise was, let's take all the silly headlock spots that I did, and let's just change them up, or let's reverse them. They're learned spots, you know. I kind of thought it would be a cool idea if I thought I had the benefit of training for the match the first time, because I knew I was going to take Joe to the distance. Joe had no idea Joe was going to try to come out of the gate and crush me in 10-15 minutes. This time, you know, both guys trained for it. So Joe studied more of my tapes, so he knows my stuff, so he's reversing my stuff. He's reversing the reversals I hit on him in the first match. But the best stuff in that match was all on the fly.
Yeah, I remember the one vividly I remember was
the stretch.
No, the stretch. Yeah, I actually made that up in the ring, and I don't know how I got in that position.
I don't know if you know this, but
yeah, I don't know if you know this, but yeah, that little STF that I ended up putting him in, where I bent him halfway from here to
completely backwards.
Yeah, completely backwards. I grabbed him and.
Did I mention I had a bad back?
Yeah. And the whole time he's cussing at me, "You son of a bitch!" He's like, "Oh, I hope you find this really fucking amusing," and I'm just like, "Oh, sorry about that. Well, it looks cool, you know." But there's I can't really. There was so much. I'd say a good 80% of that match was done on the fly, and really because of all the icing and us trying to just get healthy enough to walk to the ring, which is the absolute truth. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I mean, we were just walking wounded back there. And I remember now. It was a spear spot. I mean, we came in, we were filling out the last half of the match.
Yeah.
And Punk called the spear, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I've never done a spear in my life. You know? I really just goes, spear. And I'm like, okay, but I, came off decent, I guess.
Yeah, I remember Gabe. Gabe was super, super nervous.
Oh, he was.
I'm not saying me and him weren't nervous. We knew, we had our work cut out for us, but this is what we do. So we went out there, and I remember my music starts playing, and I just looked at Joe and I went, all right, I just completely blanked out. Let's just listen to the crowd.
Yeah.
He goes, just the look on Gabe's face, he just went, oh, and he watched in horror as I just ran out, and I didn't.
And they looked at me like if it was a joke, because like Punk's out, they looked at me as a joke, and I go, yeah, dude, I'm kind of the same boat. Well, we'll figure it out.
So I think that's the benefit of not calling a whole lot in matches, is listening to the crowd, being able to react to what they're reacting to. If they like something, you give them a little bit more of it.
If they don't like it,
you're shitting on something, you change up what you're doing and do something else. I think that the first match and that match kind of had a big fight night feel to it. You know what I'm saying? especially in Chicago. They really thought they were going to see a title change. At least there was a possibility of it.
Oh, they were chanting new chant before the belly.
Yeah, they were going crazy. I mean, it still boggles my mind that I'm such a huge babyface in Chicago. I mean, I understand.
Because he's been an asshole to so many people in that city.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I was born there. I mean, I understand the hometown guy dynamic, but it always just seems weird to me, and it still to this day humbles me. And I mean, it just seems like I could, you just kind of look over your shoulder to this side of the crowd and they erupt, and it was like just a completely different dynamic. Joe out of his element because the crowd's almost against him. So I think that added a lot to it, and we were able to just kind of play with the crowd's emotions. Dude, I had like 3 fans there,
bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, 3.
Remember the brother on the corner?
The one guy that kept yelling stuff?
That guy was great, whoever you are. Finish him off, Joe. Whip his ass.
I
was doing it for you, man. It was like Smoke's granddaddy. It was great.
How do you think the match turned out? And again, is there anything you would go back and do differently?
I think the match turned out great.
Yeah.
Different days, you'll get a different answer. Which one's better, the third one or the second one?
Yeah.
I love the second one so much. I knew probably about 8 minutes into that match, we had the people so in the palm of our hand that we could have done less than we did, and we still could have had them. But the story that we were going to tell, I just knew, that early in the match, I knew these people were going to go nuts for it. And they totally did. The ending sequence with him and I fighting on the top turnbuckle, I jockey for position, I get it, the place, yay, Joe fights out of it, Joe hooks something, boo. I mean, that's, we were both just so ecstatic and elated sitting on the top rope, and since we were doing we didn't get a countdown, we didn't know how much time was left.
The only thing we could have changed was honestly kind of the outside personnel, because I remember we had told them, we said, hey, do the time cues, do this, do that, but for whatever reason, the time cues towards the end weren't announced. And over the PA, and I mean, not to help us, but it kind of helps the crowd too. So there is this impending sense of immediacy, even though they were going crazy for it at the top.
Yeah,
I think there would have been
better than all of a sudden the match just ending.
Yeah, because I think it ended a little bit flat because of that, and I mean that's a little bit out of our control. It's a bit of a kind of a miscommunication, and like I said, Dayton was a new market. We're using, because we can't fly in all of our people who do kind of the odd jobs and Ring of Honor from the Northeast to the Midwest, so we just use local Midwest people, and because of that, there was a little bit of miscommunication and stuff like that. So I think when they announced all of a sudden, 10 seconds left, the crowd was kind of like, what? What happened? Because they really were wrapped up in it. I mean, I heard several people to this day come to me and say, that didn't feel like 60, that felt like 25 minutes, and I think the crowd kind of felt the same way. And when it was announced 10 seconds left, they're like, you gotta be kidding me, it's already almost over. And I mean, other than that, that's probably the only thing I would pretty much change in that match.
Yeah, that's really about it. Just get the countdown at the end, at least 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down. But there really isn't a damn thing I would change. Everything. That match was a lot more flawless than the first one. And it meant a lot more. There was even though there was no build up, there was more of a backstory at least to play off of. And I appreciate everybody saying that they love the match, and whether it was truthfully 5 stars or not, I felt it was a good match, and I'm my worst critic, and I know a lot of the Ring of Honor boys are there.
I am my worst.
I'm your worst critic, but I don't know. I love that match. It felt special. We probably even talked about it in the middle of the match, how awesome it felt. That it just felt like there was an electricity in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it had an asked so what do you think? I said, it's going pretty damn good.
Yeah, and like I said, we just knew, and that confidence when you're in the ring gives you an extra edge. You're not worried about, did they like this, or you're not letting the fans dictate the pace. You're just telling your story. And we got the chance to do that. And one of my favorite things to go back and do is actually watch the matches, but I don't watch the match, I watch the people in the audience. Because there's always some hilarious people, the first false finish we did, and it wasn't actually a false finish, but it was the first 2 minutes of the match, I got them in a schoolboy.
Yeah.
These 3 people jump out of their seat, and they're count 1, 2, oh, and they're, their body language and the looks on their face, and you always got the 2 guys that are sitting next to each other, and they're shoving each other and they're high fiving and
having fun, and like that honestly, I mean, when I go back and watch those matches too, like it literally the first time we went back and watched the match, we watched nothing we did in the ring. We were watching, like, it'd be like, oh, look at those guys, look at the oh shit, look at that chick, like, and just like we watched the crowd reactions and that's kind of like the fun part, and just seeing people at the shows watching matches, like having a blast, having a good time, and I mean, obviously that is, I mean, when it gets right down to it, that's the goal, is entertaining the people and giving the fans a good show and showing them a good time and making them want to see in the future, and it's just like when we go through now, I mean, honestly, what happened in the ring happened in the ring. I mean, we did it, so it's kind of silly to watch it, but when we see what happens with the fans, that's pretty much when we watch tapes, like what we're really looking at.
It's a good way to learn what works and what doesn't,
yeah,
too,
for sure,
based on how they react, what gets a reaction.
What was your reaction to getting 5 stars in the Observer?
I
never read the Observer.
Yeah,
so
I've never had a real subscription, but I was like, cool, that's awesome,
Gable always.
Gable was excited, I'll tell you that much.
Because Gable always, you don't understand what a big deal this is. All the people in the '80s who lived and died by the Observer, and all the boys got it, and this and this and that. Well, I never got it, so I was just
the only Observers I ever read, they were like from promoters and who had them, but like I remember the day Gabe found out, like I got this call, and he was like, and the most excited I've heard him squeal over the phone, and like, oh yeah, 5 stars, I was like, oh cool.
When it really sunk in for me, like I guess what a big deal it was is when I found out what like the last match that got 5 stars was in the States, and it was either Ray and Eddie from Halloween Havoc '97 or the Hell in the Cell with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So yeah, those 3 matches, which one of these doesn't belong, but I guess we do belong there, so what's up now?
Bitches.
Thoughts on coming back and doing the final match on 12/4 at All-Star Extravaganza 2?
So let me set the stage. We just had a 5-star match. Now we have this 3rd match coming up, and with the no time limit stipulation, and fans are highly anticipating it. So now we got to top that, and so no pressure there. But I mean, going into that, I think we're a lot more confident. I mean, at that point, we just kind of knew that this was whatever incarnation the 3rd match came out of, we knew it was going to be pretty good. I'm super comfortable with each other as far as wrestling, and I mean, there was a lot of high expectation, but personally there wasn't a lot of personal pressure, because I felt at that time we were capable enough to deliver something really, really good in the 3rd match.
I think we both agreed that we weren't going to try, like our goal wasn't going to be to top the 2nd match, because I don't think we thought we could do it.
Yeah.
I think our goal was just to tell the original story that we had in mind from the first match, and just focus on that. I was a little bit worried about the crowd reaction, because New Jersey loves me. They love me in Jersey, and so I thought that might kind of hinder it. But the more I thought about it, and the closer the date came, like I realized it'd probably help us, because I think a lot of people thought that I was going to be the one that was going to dethrone Joe, and the no time limit stipulation was my little genius idea to because everyone knows, even if it went like 61 minutes, like my thing was, I can't beat Joe in the 60 minutes, but I know I can beat him in 70 minutes or just something ridiculous like that. So everybody's expecting this ultra long match, and the idea from the onset was to not give it to him. I mean, we went like 31 minutes, and I think we wanted to go 20.
Yeah.
We just wanted to fucking go just nuts. Just as soon as that bell rang, just we're in it, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of the story was obviously the blood. Once you start bleeding, you can't go 100%. You can't, I didn't have that lasting, that staying power. Steamboat.
And that's not just in wrestling.
Yeah, no.
Sorry,
Steamboat helped us out a lot. He, I'll give credit where credit is due. Steamboat came up with the false with Joe's feet on the ropes, which we both, Steamboat was telling us, and this is exactly what we did. We're like, okay, thank you, sir, thank you. And then Steamboat walked away, and I went,
what the fuck?
You can't do that. That's,
Feet on the ropes?
you wouldn't do that. That's a stupid idea. And then we both peeled off, maybe got our gear on, whatever, did up our boots, and we both came back and went, that is the coolest fucking idea. Like, we both thought about it. Like, how rad is that? That, like, yeah, this is...
The whole kind of finishing sequence from the choke on, Steamboat had a ton of input in, because we were working out the match in the back, and like honestly, we sat there and we didn't really have a conclusion kind of set up in our head what we wanted to do, and so there's Ricky Steamboat. So I remember he was walking over, he kind of walked over, and I think we were talking out stuff, and he goes, and he was listening to some of the stuff towards the end of the match, and he goes, "How about this?" And he kind of came up with the scenario with Punk and the choke, and him not, where his hand goes down but it doesn't touch the mat, and the referee calling it, then he does the restart. And then he came up with the whole thing where, I kept holding on to the choke, and I kept grabbing it back, and I kept grabbing it back. And he, even up to the point where, we were looking for storytelling elements to kind of get over the fact that, I really wanted to retain the belts at all costs. And he asked me, he goes, he's like, kind of privately, and he asked this to me earlier in the night before we even started talking. He goes, Have you ever been like a heel in this Fed or kind of? I'm like, not really. I wasn't really like a heel in the sense that I did. He's like, you never cheated to win or anything. I'm not. And he goes, so fans don't really see you doing that. And I go, I guess not. I never really fleshed out my character to that point. And so then he came up and he had this idea. He's like, so then he goes, finally, here comes Punk. He's a house of fire. He's beating you up, and you sweep his legs out, you put your feet on the ropes. And I mean, literally, the minute he said that, like you said, there was a simultaneous, like, I didn't have to look at Punk, and there was a simultaneous, like,
we both groaned. Like,
and to the point where it was like, you are a crazy old man, and you know not of what you speak. You don't even watch shows, obviously. You are a crazy old psychotic man.
Who are you, Ricky Steamboat?
Who are you, Ricky Steamboat? Who did you ever beat? Who are you? You are loony. I think you need your medication, sir. That stayed in there for about 5 minutes until I'm sitting there dressing, he's dressing, and I'm going, my God, that's the most brilliant idea I've ever heard in my life. And sure enough, we came back, and I told Punk, the foot on the rope thing, and he goes, and publicly he goes, it's fucking great. I go, it is.
Yes. I think whether you love me or you hate me, and I think there really is no in between for some odd reason. People either really, really love me or they really, really hate me. In New Jersey, for some reason, the majority of the people hate me, or maybe it's the minority, but they seem to be the most vocal. So I thought the biggest thing to do to them, to maybe hopefully give one of them some sort of a coronary and perhaps kill them, would be to come up with the best possible ways to make it look like I was winning the belt. Mm-hmm. So I had the vague idea of, I want to make it look like I'm going down to the sleeper. And then I wanted to come back from that, because then everybody's going to think, it's Triple H and he's going to win the belt and blah, blah, blah. And then fuck him every single time. That's what I like doing. You hate me? Well, I screwed you because you thought I was going to win. And you watch that tape, you see every single person who's giving me shit the whole time on the biggest falsies. Like when I start coming back off the sleeper, they're like, no, please, God. They're calling to the heavens. When I kicked back off the turnbuckle pad, Joe's shoulders were pinned. That was hot too. And then we caught him off guard with Joe's feet on the ropes. We were just telling the story that we were the two guys in Ring of Honor that happened to be on top for that particular night in the main event, and we were both doing everything we could to get the belt. Joe didn't break clean. Joe bloodied me. He showed this is it. Mm-hmm. He didn't think I should have the rematch, so he was pissed that the match was even happening, so he was more aggressive. I was the underdog, so to speak, even though I had the no time limit thing going in my favor, but I wasn't going to quit even when he got the choke on me. He tried to cheat, showing how much he wanted to hold on to the belt. And your facial reaction after, I kicked out of that, you like almost looked at your hands. You're like, what the hell do I got to do?
Oh, and there was a guy, there is this guy in the front row who was super vocal in support of me. I mean, this guy was just like up there and Joe. And I remember I turned and I looked at him and I was like, geez, what's it going to take to beat this guy? And I look at this front row and this guy looked at me as if I had shot his dog. He just, I mean, he was just so exuberant, excited for me, and I was excited that he was excited for me. And at that point in time, we had both come to this impasse in our lives that we made eye contact, and he looked at me as if, my God, you fucking bastard, why did you do that?
That's what gets me off, man. That's why I do that, you know, like seeing that kind of reaction out of the crowd and fooling them every single time. And there was like 3 or 4 different times in that match when they thought it was it. Yeah. You know, and
just look on that guy's face, and like I kind of took that look with me, like as if I had just done this horrible, evil, wrong thing, and you know, I don't know, call it actor's motivation, but I mean, this guy was just so distraught. I mean, I caught him in like mid leap, like. You know, I was like
shock.
Yeah, and
you know, we were pulling the strings, and the fact that they were so emotionally involved in the match at that point, you know, was great.
And the fact that you can even still create that atmosphere and kind of an indie, especially in an indie, I guess, smart environment where a lot of fans think they've seen it all and they know it all, and like, you know, just for them to for 1 minute to kind of lose all that, sit back, watch a match, enjoy it, and just go, you know, just get caught up and be a fan again, and you know, I think that's the biggest kind of thing that we wanted to have with the fans, that we wanted no matter how big of a wrestling fan you were, how smart of a fan or whatever, or how much internet stuff you read, or how many newsletters you subscribe to, or that, for one moment, for one match, you can sit back logically and without insulting your intelligence, lose yourself in a match and just be a fan and cheer and have a good time and enjoy yourself, and walk away from the show and go, man, I saw something good, I saw something great, and I had the time of my life. And like that, I think we really did. We're able to kind of deliver that within the series of all 3 of the matches, and the third one especially in that whole ending sequence.
Without a doubt. I think on that third night for the third match, there was a number of people who thought, beyond a shadow of doubt, I was going to win, I was going to get the belt, and that number was divided in half, whether they liked that idea or they hated that idea. There was the other flip of the coin that knew that Joe was going to win, and maybe he thought some of those people thought he had the belt for too long, but some of them thought he should hold on to it for a lot longer. And I think after I bust out of the choke sleeper and I kind of hulk up out of that, after Joe's feet on the ropes, after the great falsie with the kick off the turnbuckle, I think we created an environment for at least that 5 to 8 minutes where nobody had any idea
what the hell
who was going to win.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we were striving for. So it was like the first 120 minutes of our series, and then even the first 20 minutes, so like 130 minutes of wrestling led up to the most important part, which is like the final 5 to 10 minutes of our match. No spot, nothing else meant anything more than that last 5 minutes. And the reason I said earlier, you know, some days I'll give you a different answer, whether I like the third one or if I like the second one better. Maybe the second one's a better match, structured-wise, execution-wise. The third one is off the charts emotionally, and the way our series went and the way matches are supposed to go is you never drop. You come here, maybe you level off a little bit, you go back up, and then you peak. And it was a culmination of, like, you know, everything, literally months of hard work and trying to, you know, figure stuff out. And it wasn't easy, but we peaked in that last 5 minutes, and no point before that did we drop to come back up. It was a steady climb the entire time. So that last 5 minutes, you know, we peaked, and I bust out of the choke for like the last time, and I went for that quick roll up, which was like the big, you know, Samoa Joe giant killer, and, you know, he popped my hips and grabbed that choke one more time, and, like, you know, in my mind, it was like he busted out of the choke the first time. I'm gonna break his neck, and he suplexed me, and that was it, you know. And that was the biggest rush in the world that I've ever experienced up until this point. Was that, you know, all our hard work for that 5 minutes, and that's what a lot of guys need to grasp is, you know, you could have the crappiest match in the world. It could be full of blown spots and everything, but if you got a good finish, that's the last thing that people are going to remember. So generally speaking, there's been a lot of bad matches with great finishes, and people think they're great matches. Luckily, we had a couple of great matches with an epic finish. So I think, you know, that's why a lot of people, you know, are going to put us down in the history books as, you know, comparing us to Steamboat and Flair, which is a hell of a compliment.
And oddly enough, Steamboat had a hand in that.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ricky.
Now, Punk, excuse me, was there a finish that you had wanted to do originally that you had gotten into an argument with Gabe about?
I don't know, was there?
I think there was.
Back to my memory.
I think there was. Can't even remember what it was at this point. Well, Gabe had to give you these questions. Because I'm Gabe and I was right, and he tried to tell me that I was wrong.
I don't know, we can call him.
Yeah.
God,
what an ass! Let's say, for those of you who don't know, Gabe will not be conducting the shoot interview. Instead, it's another fine ROH staffer. But
What the
now we
hell?
know why.
a finish that I wanted to do. Yes, I wanted to win, and I was going to win the belt. God damn it, I'm Triple H. Don't you people see? You people understand. I built this place. I run the school, even though I suck and I don't know how to train anybody, and I'm sloppy. I wanted to win. I'm a belt mark. They're like, we're going to give you a raise, and I was like, no, just give me the belt. Just give me the belt. I want to sleep. I want to wear that and nothing else to church on Sunday. Now I am hard pressed right now to think of what the finish would have been.
All right, let's move on.
We'll move on. We'll come back to that. Maybe, because, Gabe's going to call and ask how the interview's going. He's going to check up on us like he's a Brady father. How are they doing? They set fire to the place yet? They didn't touch my computer, did they? I got a sandwich in my drawer. Tell Punk not to eat it.
Don't laugh. Read the questions.
Is there anything you would have done differently in that match?
I think I got blown up. I wouldn't have gotten blown up if I had a choice.
Yeah. And I slipped on the top. It was just more like technical errors than anything.
Yeah.
That was about it. There were just a couple things in there. I mean, not too
maybe
much.
I wouldn't have done the drop kick on the floor.
Oh my God, he killed himself on that.
Yeah. Maybe I would have opted for him not to kick my shoulder out of the socket.
But
accidents happen. Joe's not stiff. Don't believe the hype.
Honestly, you shouldn't. You sons of bitches out there. I'll tell you.
Disclaimer: if anybody's coming to Ring of Honor, if you have a do or die match or you get booked for the first time, don't be all mad, crazy, strong style and come in the ring and try to beat
strong
somebody
style
up.
bullshit.
Just relax.
Just relax and be a pro wrestler, all right? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, ain't none of y'all strong style.
I'm Kings Road.
So just chill out with your madness. Just come and be a wrestler and do your thing.
Hey, if we eventually take a break, I'm calling Gabe to find out.
That question.
Oh,
we will
He
come
did
back
call
to
a
it.
few minutes ago.
Ah! That bastard.
And we are breaking, so.
We are breaking right now?
We're breaking right now.
Tremendous. I gotta
Shit, well, I'm broke, son.
All right, well, since we couldn't get an answer from Gabe, we'll move on.
And I wonder why.
How do you want the trilogy to be remembered?
My main objective in the whole storytelling process was just to get the belt over. That's honestly it. Make it seem like something important, something two guys would fight over, two guys would do anything, two guys would die for. That's the ultimate prize in pro wrestling to me. Trying to elevate the belt up to that, to make it look like me and Joe were doing anything we possibly could to either win it or hold on to it. And just remembered for, two young guys who, in my opinion, probably had 3 matches that didn't really have any business being as good as they were. Mm-hmm. People can say, oh, Flair, Steamboat, they can draw parallels and stuff like that. Obviously, I'll be the first to refute those. The guys that came before us in the business, it was a different game, man. It was a different business. They wrestled 7 days a week, sometimes 8. Twice Saturday, twice Sunday, whatever. We wrestle on average now 2-3 times a week. And before we really got our names out there, we wrestled maybe once a week. Maybe once a month the first year or something like that. So our 5, 6, 7 years in the business is a lot different now than Flair and Steamboat's 5, 6, 7 years in the business. So just like I said, man, 2 guys who were relatively green for their experience level, and just doing what they love and showing the world that, you know, wrestling is the best, you know, to quote Harley Race, is the best sport on God's green earth, you know, and there's still fans that appreciate the wrestling that me and Joe like to give them, and we're going to continue to do that. So I just really just want it to be remembered for that. Top that.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
Wait, I'm not done.
Yeah. Yeah, good one there, Homer. I guess to add to the epic soliloquy my friend here spit out there. Yeah, there you go. Honestly, I just want to, you know, I want them to be remembered fondly just by fans. You know, I want people to look back and when they say, hey, you know, what are some of your favorite matches that you've ever seen in your lifetime? And I want them to be able to look back on what we did in those 3 matches and say, hey, I really enjoyed Punk and Joe and ROH and the stuff they pulled out. And I mean, it's not the end of it too. I mean, it's not like I'm dead or retired or out of the Fed, and he's not either. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be much more down the line. It's just a matter of seeing if we could find a good context in which to top our previous efforts.
What was it like working with Mick Foley, in particular the Weekend of Thunder on the second night where you guys did the angle and Punk did the sit-in?
There's a list of people that I figured I'd never be able to work with in the business, you know. I mean, and then the list is huge, and I barely even scratched the surface with who I have worked with. But, you know, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd work with Ricky Steamboat. I never thought I'd wrestle him, you know, and I'm bumping for him. He started bumping for me, and before you know it, we're having a back and forth little confrontation. Can't call it a match for legal reasons. But Mick Foley was another one of those guys, you know. I remember when he retired, it was just, to me, it was just like, you know, there goes another guy that I will never be able to learn from. And it couldn't have been further from the truth, you know. I've learned tons from Ricky Steamboat. I've learned a lot from Mick Foley. And it's flattering that he's become a fan of, you know, me and Joe. But I remember me and Ace having to run all the way around the Rexplex because we had to come in through the crowd. And we were running down the hallway one way, and Gabe, with his hair all disheveled, he comes running up. Wait. Foley just got here. He says he's going to come in the ring and do a promo with you after the match.
Yeah.
So once again, you know, like I'm running out to go die on a bunch of ladders, and he tells me that I got to do this promo with Mick Foley. Well, no sweat. So the match was over, and it was pretty rad to find out.
That was all put together within like 10 minutes. I remember that Foley walked in the building unannounced and
but I hit the ring already,
yeah.
So I had no idea what was going on. So me and Foley, that's all straight ad lib, and that makes it even cooler to me that I have chemistry with Mick Foley. You know, I stole his cheap pop, you know, like right off the bat before he even grabbed the mic, and you know, me reading his book and going back and forth and just playing off each other. Doing the, well, at least it's not TNA thing, like, you know, I mean, I started off getting booed. I would say something, I would get cheered. Foley would say something, bury me. He'd get the heel heat. You know, like, it just kept going back and forth. And then finally Joe came out. And
meanwhile, I'm sitting there at intermission, and Gabe walks up to me. He's like, "You gotta go out there." Why? Because they're gonna do something. They're gonna angle with you. They are? Yeah. So then I had to walk out and
on the fly, best
on
way
the
to
fly,
do things.
set the challenge. And I think it all went well. I mean, Mick's one of those guys who, when you work with him in the ring and you have the kind of like the verbal sparring with him in the ring, he leaves it open ended, and he leaves it, and you're able to kind of pitch and catch off of him, and it makes it really easy. So I mean, that's why he's one of the best mic men in the biz, and that's why he'll always be remembered as one of the greatest mic men in the biz, and well, hell of an entertainer too. So.
Wow, you done kissing his ass? What's the next question?
Yeah, whatever. Hey, Ricky Steamboat called.
Joe, what are your memories of the series you did with Foley? The couple angles you did leading up to 219.
Oh, they were great. I mean, Mick came in, and to be honest, Mick believes a lot of the hype, and thought for sure that I was gonna like kill him. Yeah, he was like, he's like, you know, maybe in my younger days, Joe, I would have been able to get in there and throw down with you, but you know, you're insane, kid. I'm like, well, it's not really as bad as you think, and he was surprised, you know, but he took care of him with kid gloves. But like I said, I think was it in Boston that we did the
Yeah.
Yeah, in Boston, did an angle where he started beating me up and hit me with the chair and stuff. And I remember after that, the next day, we got the call, and he was just banged up and couldn't walk and couldn't get out of bed. And he hadn't done a lot of anything since his departure from WWE up until that point. And it kind of skewed the angle a bit, and we couldn't get the match that we wanted to out of me and Mick, which we really were shooting for. But it was on Mick and how well he was, physically able to do things. Because he still had some nagging injuries he's still trying to get over and stuff like that, which is totally understandable.
But he was more banged up from himself than from you, because I remember him telling me that as he was punching you, he was dropping to his
knees while he's giving me forearms on the ground.
And he didn't have knee pads on,
because he's the type of guy that when he goes out there, he doesn't half-ass anything. He puts his all into it. So, when he was putting an ass beating on me, man, he was putting an ass beating on me. And I remember him coming up and telling me, and he told Punk too, he's like, it was nothing you did. He's like, you were great. It was just...
Kicked his own ass.
Yeah, he basically kicked his own ass. He went out there and, those knees aren't what they used to be, and I'm sure mine won't be in a couple of years, but, he just couldn't walk the next day, so, obviously, it's a concern for him, and, I want him to be able to run and play ball with his kids someday, so, the angle kind of got, the program, I should say, got taken down a notch, and we had to end up rebooking it a bit, so it kind of transferred the heat to Austin and kind of focused the feud there. But who knows if he gets healthy in the future? I'm sure he's more than up to coming back in the future and doing some more stuff with us, and we'll see how that turns out.
What changes have you seen in the ROH product since you each started?
I think it's a lot more focused now. I think a lot of the guys on our roster have a more clearly defined role within the company. When ROH first started, and we both started, I think, on the very same show, didn't we? Glory by Honor?
No, you started...
A show before.
October 5th was Glory by Honor,
yeah.
And I was supposed to start that day. It got pushed back to November 5th.
Yeah, but you had like a Rotary Club meeting or something. So anyways, he couldn't make it. I was out there. And
technically, I started on the September show because I came in and did an interview.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid for that.
Yeah. So, when I first came in, pretty much, the only concept of ROH was it's a collection of, the best indie guys that, around the nation, and, hey, have them come all together and do kind of a super card. That was kind of like what every show was, which is cool, and its inception was cool because I think it kind of made the company stand out from other companies because now you took everybody's kind of best guy, put them all in the same company, all the same ring together, and, hey, let them go out and do it. It was bad, though, in the sense that the show had no real flow because, you just had a lot of guys out there who were just doing their best to kind of blow away the crowd, but in the process, you're kind of hurting the rest of the card, later on down the line. And, basically it just became like a big, I shouldn't say it became that way, but it was shifting towards that where it was just kind of like a big, one-upsmanship type of contest where this guy's doing that, this guy. And, a lot of the guys were using a lot of the same stuff. You'd see, 5 Northern Light suplexes into the turnbuckles, and everybody's getting dropped and killed and this and that. And, hey, that's some company's prerogative, and that's how it goes. But, for the longevity of a company, you can run supercars like that, sure, for only so long. But, you're kind of exhausting your own product. And then, especially recently, so now you saw the emergence of these characters, of these factions, of reasons why these people are doing what they're doing, and at the same time, I'd like to think that we're not insulting people's intelligence. We might have a little bit of fun with them, and with some of the storylines that we come up with, and that, I think that's all fine and dandy. You got to have a little bit of fun, and a lot of some things are cliche, sure, but I think we've never really tried to represent ourselves as something that is insulting to watch. When you watch an ROH show now, we have angles, we have feuds, and we have, this guy doesn't like this guy, but it's for tangible reasons because, this guy lost a match or he wants to win or he wants the belt. All of our angles are focused on our belts. We want, and that was the kind of the big shift when I won the belt, was that we wanted the ROH championship to be something that everybody was gunning for, and we wanted it to be the ultimate prize in the company. When you come in a Ring of Honor, you come with the intention of winning the ROH World Championship. And I think there's a real shift to that now. Also, like I said, saying that everybody has a place in the company now. Like I said, guys are more cognizant. I think there's more cohesion as far as the card goes, as far as guys are working. You know, guys go around and ask now, hey, are we doing this? You guys doing this? Well, we're thinking about this. This is what we're doing for a finish. Are you guys doing that for a finish? You know, like and really trying to produce a more slick, a better overall show, I guess is a good word, is a good way to sum it up. And that's kind of what I feel the company has shifted to now. And though you won't get as much craziness as we had in some of our earlier stuff, especially in the scramble stuff, I mean, some of that stuff, I mean, it's maddening for some of the wrestlers in the back, and some of us, especially like a guy like American Dragon who, you know, pulls his hair out whenever he sees some of the scrambles, and that's why he's bald now. But you know, you might not see that old flash from the past, but I think you're getting a better overall wrestling product as a whole, and I think the show and the characters and the people, I think they're much more interesting and much more entertaining than they were when I first started with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, everything's better. And that's just not me, you know, drinking the Kool-Aid. That's not just me because I work here and I run the school. And I mean, if you look at a show from 2002,
yeah,
honestly, a lot of them don't hold up. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of them are one-match shows. The production's crap in a lot of the cases. You know, I mean, maybe not crap for them, but I mean, I'm just holding it up against like the most recent 3rd anniversary shows. You know, I mean, you know, they used to have that chain link fence. There never used to be, you know, these sheets, you know, in the back. The lighting wasn't right.
Well, we didn't even have lighting now.
Right. I mean, and now it's just, you know, the production's so much better. You know, some people get smoke for their entrances. You know, like my entrance with the lights and the.
And some of us get green freaking lasers. All right here, green lasers. They're very proud about that.
You know,
I actually got a call at my house. Hey Joe, listen, we feel horrible about your entrances. We just saw Austin's. It's fantastic. So you know what I did, Joe? Joe, you know what we did for you? The former champ, the former man of this company. All right. Some call you has been, not us. You know what we got for you, my friend? Green freaking lasers, Joe.
And I couldn't think of a better color for him.
Yes.
Green.
That's because he used my words, and now I look like an asshole. Thanks, man. Continue.
I just think everything's better. I think the roster's better. It's head and shoulders above what it was in 2002 or even 2003. And I really like the crew we got. You know, like I get to grow as a wrestler with Homicide and Joe and American Dragon, and even when AJ and Daniels were here. You know, I mean, if you look at the crew, like I know in 20 years I'm going to be stoked about the guys I came up with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Homicide is head and shoulders above where he was a year ago.
Oh, totally.
I know I am, you know, personally speaking. I know there's tons of stuff I improved on. There's tons of stuff I still need to work on. But, like, you know, everybody saw, like, Bryan Danielson become a world-class worker. And everybody saw Samoa Joe carry the company and become this dynamic guy who could have a great main event with, like, anybody, you know. I mean, we all have our roles, you know. Everybody is selfless. Everybody knows how to put somebody else over. Everybody's more concerned about the other guy before them, you know. And I just think it wasn't like that when I first started here. It was about, let's go out there and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And it was all about stealing the show. And, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, even now, you know, there isn't anybody from Gabe to me to Joe to any kind of Ring of Honor management that doesn't that tells people, hey, don't do this or don't do that.
Yeah.
We'll let you do whatever. But collectively, the locker room is 100% smarter because they know not to do that without even being told. They know, you know, like everybody here and there does brain busters. Well, Aries has adopted that almost as his finisher. So everybody stops doing it, you know. When new guys come in and they're on the Do or Die show, you know, we don't tell them to hold back. You know, go do your thing. You know, blah blah blah. I remember Super Dragon worked Excalibur, and like, you know, Super Dragon did a whole bunch of stuff, and he was like, man, it just, you know, like a lot of the stuff wasn't as over as I thought it was going to be. Like he did Homicide's Dive, you know. But there's a difference between like a guy like Super Dragon doing Homicide's Dive or Homicide doing Homicide's Dive. You know, and it's because Homicide knows how to work it now. So whereas before he just might like go nuts and do it. Now he knows, to work it. You know, and I think a year ago, Homicide might not have set up for the dive and not done it to get the heel heat, but like now he does stuff like that. Everybody's just a smarter worker, you know. The whole locker room, like Ring Crew Express, everybody knows on different shows it's their time to shine. You know, whether okay, this time I'm going to be in the main event. Now I'm going to bust out all my stuff, and now I'm going to do the more high risk stuff or the crazier stuff. Or if you're in the popcorn match, you know, to kind of, you know, take it easy. There's a difference between being lazy or just being smart, you know, for the sake of the rest of the show, you know.
But at the same time, too, nobody's ever told, like,
No.
go out there and tone it down a bit. You know, nobody has. I mean, they tell you go full bore. But I think in general, like, and it's pretty much the guys themselves take it upon themselves to kind of be like.
Yeah, the locker room's policed itself.
Yeah,
it's
like,
amazing.
I hear a lot of people, like, I always hear, like, it cracks me up because people say, oh, Joe's a locker room leader. Well, like, I can't think of a time that I ever told anybody, like, anything in the locker room other than, hey, what's up? You know, like,
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, if anything, a lot of the guys are overly considerate, and they'll go up and ask, even a lot of the new guys, you know, because that's just the way we do. Like, we're really considerate of each other and stuff like that. And, like, speaking about wrestlers growing, like, you got, like, a guy like Jimmy Rave. I mean, that guy...
Or Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, another one. Like, head and shoulders above where they were like a year ago, 2 years ago. I mean, just blown away. And it's a lot of it has to do with them wrestling smarter.
I think even like Roderick Strong.
Roderick Strong is another one. Who's,
That's like the biggest
Roderick
thing.
Strong this year is going to be like...
He's going to be
like,
sick, man.
Sick. Because, I mean, he's put, like before, like, when I worked him a couple times, actually in the Midwest for IWA, you know, and then...
Yeah.
And, but, like, from that, like, that was the first time we actually ever worked together. Then we did some stuff down in FIP that worked out really good. But, I mean, like, Roderick Strong looked at me after that, he's like, oh, wow. Like, he's like, it feels more natural. And a lot of it, too, is just, like, we just get away from trying to sit out there and choreograph everything. You go out there and you wrestle and you work and you work with the crowd and you react with the crowd. And, like, Roderick Strong, the past, like, 2 shows I've seen him on, he's putting together, like, not have stuff put together for him. He himself has put together matches so much more intelligently and that translates so much better to the crowd. And I mean this year, this is I guarantee this year he's gonna blow up huge. And there's a lot of guys who are just smarter wrestlers who are doing stuff who are working towards the fans, not working towards the match. And I think that's the difference that you're gonna see in a lot of the wrestlers today. And I mean, Austin Aries is another one. Like, Austin came up like gangbusters. I mean, the reason why, and after he took the belt, you know, he could have went either way with it, but I mean, he really is taking a very smart approach to matches, and he's doing really great for himself. And I think it's awesome. And I could go on and on, but
yeah, that's the biggest difference to me is the locker room is like 10,000 times smarter. The production's a lot better, and the shows are so more well-rounded.
And I think now before when you went to an ROH show, you went to an independent wrestling show. You went to like your local high school gym show with the ring and the house lights and a couple dudes with some DV cameras, you know, hanging around the ring or God, did you guys even have DVs back then? You did? Oh, sorry, they had DVs back then. And you know, it was like, you know, just it was kind of like fan cam shot. But now you come to ROH, you're experiencing ROH. I brought a friend to an ROH show for the first time in Chicago. And she was crazy about it. She's like, wow, this is like going to like a big event. And it has a lot to do with the production and has a lot to do with the way that the promotion is presented. And there's still being improvements made, and I'm sure next year ROH will be even more of an experience. But I mean, when you come to an ROH show, you're coming to a wrestling event. You're not going to a wrestling show. And I think that's the big difference from ROH and past incarnations and its incarnation now.
What are your thoughts on the rumors of Mick Foley getting you guys into WWE?
Well, I think we both have a different perspective on it because we both talked to Foley. So
yeah,
there weren't really like rumors. We weren't sitting in front of our phones, you know, waiting for some phone call or anything like that.
That's gonna make me a rich man.
No, it's just Foley came up to both of us, and I think he told Joe first, and then he was like, "Hey, I told Joe this, and I got this idea. You know, I really like you guys, and I'm sick of all the muscle heads that are on TV, and you know, you guys have great characters, and you know how to wrestle." And I think it stemmed from originally Vince wanting Foley to wrestle Flair, Foley wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So then Vince wanted to wrestle Foley. And they were setting up for something possibly for WrestleMania. Foley wasn't sure he wanted to do it, so he pitched this idea to Vince, I suppose, about maybe Foley coming out. I mean, it was great. Foley had like this timeline.
Yeah, and the way
he had his, and then at the Royal Rumble we'll do this, and then on Raw the next night we'll do this. But the idea was him and Vince, have this this promo war almost, with Foley saying, well, I thought when I wrestled Randy Orton, I thought this is the youngest, most talented, well put together, smart guy in the business, and then I realized he wasn't, and enter me and Joe, whatever, but and then basically Foley saying that these guys are exactly where I was when you thought I was a piece of shit, and look at all the money I made you, and I'm not a big musclehead, and these guys aren't physically enhanced, basically we're not all jacked up and on steroids and artificial and stuff like that, and we don't look the same, we don't look like everybody else that they're on, put on TV, and it was just supposed to just blossom from that. That was his original idea. I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Did I ever think it was going to happen? No, not at all. Not at all. But I did have a couple of daydreams about how funny that would have been, that would have been pretty cool, It would have been interesting to see happen. Because I remember growing up watching wrestling when everybody looked different. There was the big, strong, roided up, freak, and then there was Jake Roberts, and then there was Don Morocco, who in his waning years was just fat, didn't care. Piper was never all that big. Even Hogan, all the guys that McMahon made his money with would not get a job in the WWE today because even Hogan, they would tell him, you trim up, get some abs, it's just madness that all these guys that I grew up watching, and I loved pro wrestling because everybody was different, and now everybody's the same. It's like Chris Masters that just debuted on Raw. His gimmick is he's supposed to have this $1 million body. There's guys on Raw that are in the segment before him and guys on the segment after him that look 10 times better than him. So what the, he just looks like the biggest shithead because he's not either shooting up enough steroids or not spending enough time in the gym. It's just completely.
If anybody knows me, I've always, anybody I guess in the business, I should say, not fans, who've ever talked to me, and I always give them the theory of relativity speech. You're only as big as something is small. You're only as muscular as something is not muscular. You're only as, you need something to play. You need a counterpoint to play off of. And I know we're getting off subject, but there's no counterpoint to that in WWE anymore. There's no, and even you look at all the great companies and all their great eras, even in WWE's money-making era with The Rock and Austin, there was such a cast of characters. There was such diversity within the roster. And now you got a lot of guys who, they look exactly alike. And it's it's
like my fucking high school. That sucks.
And it just, you lose a bit of the impactfulness of these guys with great physiques. And like I said, I give them credit, man. They do look good, and that's all fine and dandy. But at the same time, it's where's the specialness of that if you don't have a counterpoint to play off of? And like I said, I'm not anybody to tell them how to make money because they've made a lot more than me. But at the same time, I'm one who is able to sit there and observe and say, hey, I've seen you in your better money-making days, and I've seen you at the height of your popularity, and your roster now look nothing like it does today. And obviously, time will tell if that's going to be the case as we continue on like that. But that's that. But getting it back to the Foley thing, yeah, the angle Foley pitch was awesome, and when I heard about it and Mick told me to it, I sat there with a real smile on my face. I was really genuinely excited about it. But in the back of my head, I sat there and went, "Oh, there is no way this is gonna fucking happen." And
it was just more cool that he suggests that me and him were ready for something like that.
And we sat there, and I was like, "Man," I go, "Mick, that is an awesome idea." I said, "Whatever you need from me, or I'm sure Punk told him the same thing. Hey, we'll be willing to help you out and do it and get it done." And it never, and of course it didn't come to fruition. I'm sure he pitched the angle to Vince, and Vince went, "Who? Where are these kids at?"
I know for a fact he pitched the Angle to Vince.
And
they had a meeting.
They had a meeting about it. You know, which was also kind of cool. Like, hey, Mick Foley and Vince McMahon had a meeting specifically about us. But you know, in the interim, I mean, hey, they decided to go that way, and they want to present their product in a certain way, and they want to do it a certain way. So I mean, I'm not one to say any different. And, you know, like I said, if anything, we just looked at it as like, hey, it was a cool opportunity that didn't come to fruition, but hey, it did happen, and that's pretty cool nonetheless. You know, that we're at least showing up on the radar in our little corner of the wrestling industry.
Would you guys ever take a developmental contract?
I think I make more money now.
Yeah, honestly.
And it's always a hard question to throw at somebody because, you know, I mean,
circumstances change. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and everybody's different, and it's always different. It's like asking somebody, if, you know, the old, hey, would you make out with a horse for $1 million? Well, what?
Oh, of course I would. And then next week,
and then you have a briefcase in front of
you.
You
got Smarty Jones, you know.
You're putting chapstick on. Where's that horse at? But I mean, I know they're signing up everybody right now for the Atlanta territory
like crazy.
And there's guys out there that are jumping at 3-year deals for $500 a week. And I'm in a different place than those guys are. Joe's in a different place than those guys are. You know, those guys probably work in one state. You know, they probably have to work maybe a real job or two, which is like garlic to a vampire to me right now is a real job. You know, we're supporting
Cuts
ourselves.
into my drinking time. So
We're supporting ourselves on wrestling, and we get to wrestle around the entire world. And you know, without getting into specifics, we get paid pretty good for it, and we're both happy like doing what we're doing. And you know, not to speak for you, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that if we took a developmental, not only would we be taking a pay cut, but we'd have to move someplace.
Yeah.
And we'd also wouldn't be able to do what we do now, and that's what we love, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in the same camp. I mean, I know we're fortunate. I mean, we're two of maybe a handful of people, honestly, who can say they can do this for a living, and we kind of have to make our own way. And of course, it's a lot more risk compared to like a WWE developmental where you got a steady paychecks coming all the time. But I mean, I especially these days, I score a lot more than I miss, so it's not, you know, it's not really that much of a risk for me. But like taking a developmental, I mean, like I said, you know, you're going to move to one of these territories, you're going to wrestle the WWE style, which there's nothing wrong with the WWE style, but it's not the way that I was brought up to wrestle. You know, I spent, you know, I was brought up to wrestle a certain way. I didn't spend time living in Japan, learning technique and stuff to have that all erased from my mind and taught a new way to wrestle. You know, I think what makes me unique and what makes me one of my few marketable things is that I wrestle the way I do. So, you know, and I enjoy the way I wrestle. You know, I enjoy the things I do, and I enjoy going out there and working the way I want to work. And you know, and I do this because I enjoy it. You know, I'm also fortunate to call my current living something that I really enjoy doing, and to take that joy out of it for the promise of fame. Potential,
no promise either.
Yeah, it ain't a promise. For the potential opportunity for the promise of fame, then it's like that's not the risk I'm willing to take right now, because I'm really, really, really happy wrestling, and I'm really, really happy entertaining the people I'm entertaining. WWE, without a doubt, is the #1 company in the world, and I know this from experience. I mean, I still do. I work with New Japan. I worked for 01. I've been over. I've seen all the major companies in the world. WWE is the #1 company in the world, but to find financial success in WWE is not a guarantee, and to find happiness with what you're doing with WWE is definitely not a guarantee. And I know, I have tons of friends who work for WWE. Some are extremely happy doing well. John Cena, God bless him, is doing great, and I hope he continues to skyrocket and is, just blows up beyond belief and goes on to do films like The Rock and all that stuff, which he's working towards. But I have other friends in Raw and SmackDown too who are absolutely miserable, and I would not risk what I have now to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Just to say that I'm a WWE wrestler. and I have a feeling because of the way I wrestle and because of the things I do, I would probably end up one of those types of wrestlers. So, like I said, if the opportunity presented itself in the right circumstances, then maybe. But as far as taking a developmental deal, I'm not hot. I'm not really super. I don't think I'd be very, very, I don't know, receptive towards it, I guess.
Are you surprised at how WWE has changed to where they're only looking to sign guys with a specific look?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's TV. I know you got to have a body to be on TV. Period. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like that. I miss the days of Bastion Booger and, like plump Davey Boy Smith and stuff like that. But I mean, as long as there's guys that are jumping at these, these deals, $500 a week for 3 years, and that's barely going to support their steroid habit, and they're comfortable with their heart exploding at 34. There's always going to be guys like me and Joe that are like, well, we're better off where we are right now anyway. So,
I mean, I understand what they're looking for, and I mean, honestly, what it looks like to me, the way the WWE's current climate and the way that they're recruiting guys is that it's kind of like a talent search for the next Rock. I mean, they could do a reality show behind it, because I mean, every guy that I see that's come through there, they look at him like, man, we're looking for the next Rock. But in the meantime, I think they're missing out on a lot of potential guys who could do better for them in other capacities with other characters fitting a different type of mold and searching for that next Rock. And I understand the need for that, because because basically it's always in WWE, it's always been that one headliner who's carried the company on their back and who's brought it to prominence. But it's been that undercard of really entertaining, steady characters that have kept the company on top during those times. You can't just have that one main eventer and there's nothing for him to face. And I think now basically that's what you got. You got a lot of that, and I understand. And aesthetic appeal is very important in today's day and age, and especially when in TV and stuff. And I totally understand the need for that. They're not just gearing towards wrestling fans. They're trying to get the mainstream public back into the product, trying to pull back in the mainstream fans who are not savvy to wrestling, who just flip the channels through, and then they're hopefully they see some guy, it catches their eye, and they stop and they start watching. I can totally understand that, and like I don't harbor like a lot of bitterness, like F WWE because they don't give the real wrestlers a chance. Well, they're a company, they're a business, they're making money, and that's the way
they're not a wrestling company.
Yeah, they're a company, and that's the way they feel they're going to make money. Well, then let them make money that way. I'm not going to sit here and tell Vince McMahon how to make money, but at the same time, I know from my perspective when I look at what they have and the roster they have now compared to the rosters that they had in the past that have made them the most money, that have catapulted them to the heights that they've had, that their roster now is nothing like the roster was back then. So it's at the same time I'm kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe they consider it an evolution of the product, but as far as I'm concerned, I feel they're kind of stifling a lot of the wrestlers that they have there, and they're not letting them kind of branch out and be the market and be marketable and be comfortable as the characters they want to be and make the money that they have the potential to make.
What was it like being at the New Japan Dojo with Jushin Liger?
It was cool. Like, yeah.
Liger's a real cool guy.
Yeah, Liger's cool. It wasn't really anything, new. I mean, the dojo is almost like home away from home for him, and I've been there countless times. But just to meet Liger and just see how down to earth and like how cool he was, that was pretty rad. He's not like the big superstar you would think he could be. Mm-hmm. He doesn't throw his weight around or anything like that. He worked out with everybody. He ate with everybody. We climbed a mountain.
He was last. It was great.
He
Very
was.
short legs.
It was a good time though. Nothing too overwhelming, and it was just a great atmosphere. Like everybody was there to train, everybody was there to learn.
All right, we're gonna run through some names. Maybe you guys can give your opinions, or you have some good stories on them. First on the list is Teddy Hart.
Teddy Hart. No, I don't think I got any Teddy Hart story.
Honestly, like, I've talked to him plenty of times since the incident now, and he's just Teddy. Hey,
he's just Teddy.
He's just Teddy. He just like he has his world that he loves to exist in, and I you know what, that seems like a very happy place for him. So.
Yeah, me and him, I guess, buried the hatchet back in October at the Jersey All Pro show.
Yeah.
I was in my little corner of the locker room and like.
What was that, PWG?
No, Jersey All Pro.
Was it Jersey All Pro?
Yeah, it was in October. I worked Key.
Oh, okay.
He came walking in like a fur coat or some shit. And like after a while, like I just walked over to him and I was like, "Hey Teddy," I'm like, "I saw you walk in, you know, I just wanted to say hi, you know." And he was like, "Oh my God, oh thank you, I didn't know if you wanted to talk to me, and thank you for saying hi, and oh it's cool, we're cool now, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, man." You know,
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I thought you hated me. Oh, I got some shows I want to book you on." So you know, and like, and it just didn't miss a beat, like right back into being Teddy, and like you know.
No, I mean, he's Teddy.
That's it. Like, you know, from all the dumb crap that happened in the past, like, none of it even means anything now. And, you know, he's busy doing his thing, and we're busy doing our thing.
Christopher Daniels.
Christopher Daniels, we affectionately refer to as OMD.
Yeah,
Old Man Daniels. Because he's old, and I hope he watches this.
Okay, he is ancient, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, he got heat the first day of wrestling school because he forgot his sandals. But.
Yes, he got his wrestling sandals. Daniels was a guy that, you know, like he was like one of the first indie superstars, you know.
Yeah.
I always remember hearing about like Reckless Youth and Christopher Daniels, and Daniels pretty much helped out everybody to get to where they are. Like he helped out me.
Really?
He helped out me and Cabana.
Dragon
he helped out
Dragon
you.
Spanky,
He helped
me.
out Dragon and Spanky. You know, he helped out the Pit Bulls. He's helped out everybody. So, you know, he's literally like kind of our grandfather. You know.
That's why we affectionately call him OMD.
Except we can all just absolutely beat his ass. So he doesn't, you know. Oh man, I gotta think of some really. I know I got.
Show him a picture of us in the cactus, man.
Oh, okay.
Best picture ever. This is our
cactus.
Our god niece.
The cactus is Christopher Daniels' daughter, who I, of course, affectionately refer to as the cactus because the first time I ever held her, what the hell do I know about holding a baby? I swear I was like this. I was like, "Hey, you know, baby," and her head's all. Her head's doing that. I didn't know you're really supposed to support the head or whatever, you know. So Daniels was like, "Jesus, did it hold my daughter like it was a cactus?" I don't know. You
It's been
gonna be able to
everything.
zoom in on that?
Aww, isn't that precious?
Funny story about this picture. There was a fourth person in it, but they weren't smiling, so I cut them the fuck out of it. How dare you not smile when the cactus is in the picture? The fourth person will remain unnamed. Yeah, you know, Daniels deserves everything he has. You know, that's one of the reasons I'm glad TNA's still around is because, you know, it's paying his mortgage.
Paying for the cactus's clothes.
Yep. Except, actually, I buy the cactus a lot of clothes.
Yeah, you do.
It's the soft side of CM Punk that you all didn't know, you know, except I buy the Cactus rad stuff, like Misfits onesies and like Little Ramones t-shirts, you know, and like stuff with skulls on them.
Yeah,
like,
the Cactus
the only
mom
time
hates.
she ever wears it is like, you know, when they know they're going to see me, and the rest of the time, you know. I got her this really bitchin' Boris Karloff.
I remember that.
It was green, and it just had Frankenstein heads all over it. It was awesome. But
You had that jersey at that.
she ain't never. Yeah, at the ChillerCon. She ain't never gonna wear it. Yeah. Yes, I'm affectionately referred to as Punkle, as Uncle Punk.
Punkle.
Yeah, and I like to teach the cactus little things like how to slap people in the face, which she's actually doing now.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And she was also in a Geico commercial with Mommy recently.
No, it wasn't Geico. It was
Was it, or
was it that Ken Jennings loser from?
Yeah, but it was a Geico commercial.
No, it was Singular.
Singular. Oh, Singular commercial. Yeah.
So look out for the cactus.
So now she makes more money than us in residual checks, which is
Yes.
very proud of her.
Yeah, I'll be living in the cactus's spare bedroom in about 20 years. Talking about, I remember when I used to bounce you on my knee. Can you pick up a pizza on your way home? I'm gonna be all fat and slovenly.
As far me and Chris Chris Daniels, goes back to like my first year in wrestling, and he's largely responsible for the exposure I got with a lot of indie promotions. Recommended me to a lot of indie promoters. When he first met me, didn't like me too much, believe it or not. But then as we ended up wrestling each other in this stupid training series of tapes that I did with him, and he's like, "Wow, you can work, kid," and I was like, "Oh, well, thanks, old man."
Kid.
And yeah, that's where the OMD started actually. And from then, he got me into Ring of Honor, and honestly, he's largely responsible for the exposure. The majority of some of your top, I guess, independent guys today have gotten because of he was such a strong worker, such a strong hand that guys could always rely on. And the mystery enigma of all time will always continue to be why WWE never signed him, because he always had the look, he always had the promo skills, and he could work the lights out of any wrestler they had on the roster at any time. In fact, I remember him coming and doing a show, and him and Kurt Angle had one of the best matches, with Kurt Angle having a concussion and could not take a bump. And he had one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in a long time with Kurt Angle, and just carried him on his back through this whole series. This is when Kurt first started wrestling too. It wasn't when he really developed into this really great wrestler. But yeah, he's just everybody you see, it's everybody that you see in ROH today, especially the top guys who first started out, was because of words that have come from Daniels and for recommendations that have come from Daniels, and he's largely responsible for Ring of Honor and for a lot of the indie superstars you see today. Daniels would have had a hand in recommending them or getting them bookings or telling promoters, hey, you need to use this guy, you need to see this guy, he's good, and from that I'll never be able to repay him. Great guy.
I'd say in the group we roll with, like me, Joe, AJ, Daniels,
Brian, Spank,
just everybody, Cabana.
Yeah.
Daniels is like he's like the den mother, you know what I'm saying? Like,
he truly is.
He checks up on everybody. He makes sure everybody's okay. I've gone through some rotten times, like in my personal life, and Daniels has been there to talk at 4 in the morning with the 3-hour time difference, from California to Chicago or Philly, whatever. He's just always just been really, really rad, And
I remember times when I've been stranded. I was flying out for Ring of Honor shows, and I'd get stranded. And I really didn't have a lot of experience flying and going out to the East Coast. And I'd be stranded somewhere, and Daniels would be like, here, call here, rent a car. If you need to use my credit card number, here's my credit card number. And just above and beyond. And not knowing that at that time he did not have the money to be doing this for me, and really didn't owe me anything outside of the recommendation already got me there. But just to make sure I was taken care of. And he just was really good with that. And, we all affectionately call him OMD, but he's still a guy that we all really, really respect and look up to. And probably one of the best guys in the business, bar none. I've been all over the world with him, and there's no one I'd rather have traveled those roads with. He's just a great guy.
Yep. Next on the list, you actually just mentioned him, AJ Styles.
AJ. Well, there's another guy that Daniels is responsible for first getting into that spotlight. I remember hearing about AJ Styles, where Christopher Daniels, it was the 51st
anniversary.
Is it the 50th or 51st, NWA anniversary show? And ever since then, it's been AJ Styles, to a point where, and this is just to put Daniels over again, to a point where AJ's kind of surpassed him in TNA. AJ's their golden boy, and Daniels doesn't care. A lot of other guys would be jealous or pissed, but he's just. He's elated for AJ, and even TNA I think's missing the boat with Daniels. They're just now trying to push him singles and putting him in a program with AJ, and it's just Daniels. He's patient and everything, and I think he tries to project that in all of us, and he really tries to project it in AJ, and I really think AJ looks up to Daniels as a father figure, and AJ's the same way, hey man, you need to stay in my hotel room, or hey, you pick me up at the airport, I'm gonna buy you lunch, and and this and that. Never listen to me and AJ get into a religious conversation, because that's pretty ridiculous. But that's why we're all friends, is because we're all different. We all come from somewhere else, and we all believe different things, but we're still friends, And a lot of these are gonna sound the same. That it's just that these guys are selfless and they'll do anything, and help their friends, and
And I'm so much more better at video games than AJ, no matter what he tells you.
That is true.
Because AJ will have all the gimmicks. He has those Xboxes that you can download game. You don't even need the game. It doesn't matter. Because I am better than him.
AJ's crazy.
Yeah, AJ is crazy. I whooped him bad at Tekken 4 in front of his wife 5 times at the Van Skate Park in Orange, California. And to this day, I had to let him win because his wife was crying because she wanted to leave so bad. This is true. So AJ Styles, though you are a good person, you suck at video games, and I will always be better than you. So never forget that. Thank you and good night.
I don't even play video games. I stink.
Steve Corino.
Steve Corino.
I'll start this
Yes,
one.
yeah, please do.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy. Like I said, I met him in 01 when I was over in Japan. And when Steve, the contrary part, when Steve first came to Japan, he was like the biggest joke in the office. It was great. Everybody, all the bosses used to laugh. Oh, because he was trying to be like a serious wrestler, you know, and he was very, very sucked up and skinny at the time, and doesn't eat as much as he does these days. And before,
like me, basically.
yeah, and before Gravity Ass became the Gravity Ass that he is today.
Jesus Christ, Steve Corino sandbags like somebody getting ready for a hurricane.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
I've actually think I've almost had a hernia trying to pick him up off the ground. It is amazing. I have had people say that my German suplex at the time was just immaculately beautiful. I drilled it and I worked on it and I fucking trained it in a Japanese dojo. I thought, yes. And the minute I picked up Steve Corino and his large bulbous ass landed on my head just from simple, there's like gravity that he stores in his boots. I swear to God. Ever since then, it's never been the same. But other than that, great guy, super father, and really heavy.
Corino always gives me a lot of shit about, obviously me being drug free and all that stuff, and he's always like, "Look at you, you're on drugs. Look at you, your piercings and your tattoos, and you're on drugs. It's all a work, blah blah blah." But he actually now realizes I'm a lot of fun and I'm a lot more hilarious than everybody else who's drunk when I'm sober, obviously. Yeah. We went to England together and we were on a couple shows and Raven was there too, so it was pretty much, pick on Raven night. So we're just picking on Raven the whole time.
But why pick on
me? To
me?
a point where Raven refused to even come out with us that night. And he's going to be sorry because we went to a transvestite bar, which I'm sure is right up Raven's alley. So,
tell him about the rib to get you the transvestite.
Alex Shane, guy who promotes and runs FWA, thought it'd be funny as a rib to, hey, you guys want to go out? We're going to take you out. We're going to show you England. It's going to be great. And me and Corino were like, yeah, great, whatever. We'll go out. Cool. One of the kids came up to us and they're like, hey, man, Corino's taking you guys to a tranny bar. Me and Corino just kind of looked at each other and went, all right, well, we'll let him have his rib. We won't spoil it, So the whole cab ride, he's all excited. Not Michael Shane, Alex Shane. He's all, oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna go out, But me and Corino are already in on it. We know what's happening. So we come strolling up to the bar. We're the first two there. I'm dressed like this. Corino's got a shirt and a tie on, right? So I don't know if that meant I look like the woman or if he did. But regardless. The bouncer looks at me and Corino and he goes, hey, you guys realize tonight's, and we both go, yeah, here's your 20 pounds. We walk down the stairs and we're just all kind of soaking it all in, and there's framed pictures of like the most odd people on the wall. I mean, it was like Prince, Elton John, Goldie Hawn, like just really weird, I don't know if this is what transvestites are into, but like Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie, like all these just framed pictures on the wall. So we're like, that's funny, and we go down this winding staircase and we get on the floor, and the entire right side of the place is one big super long bar, and then there's like a little dance floor and a little stage, and like we walked into this place and it was just shocking, having been in Roppongi in Japan and seeing, the hottest woman you've ever seen in your entire life,
with an
and you're
apple.
like, that's a guy, but that's the prettiest girl I've ever seen in my entire life. In Japan we had Josh Daniels in love with this girl, in love. He was like, she smells good, and oh my God, and blah blah blah. And
she has a penis.
She's a dude, I kind of expected that. No, not in England, man.
No,
they don't roll that way. It looked as if me and Joe and Corino and everybody else,
Corino with his beard,
put on their sister's dress, 5 o'clock shadow, maybe a wig here and there, maybe not. There was a couple of ones that I was like, oh, she did a good job, But then there were just the ones that looked like, like Rhodesia from Monty Python with the lipstick like all over, like missing an eyelash, like businessmen that looked like they had like some nightgown just jammed into their suitcase. So like right after they broke away right after work and like just put it on, they're just walking around. It was like it was like the Mos Eisley Cantina in Star Wars, and we just sat there and we were like, wow, like this is just another planet, And Alex Shane's all like, oh, do you like it, eh? And we're like,
He's got a big rib on the yikes.
He knows everybody, but he walks in, the bartender's like, Alex! He's like high-fiving trannies, like we're walking through, and I'm like, man, this guy, you think you know some people, and he just like, he says he has a good time there, and he just goes out there and,
Hey, whatever, man.
whatever, man. I don't, I'm not gonna judge you, Alex.
Ain't no shame in your
okay.
game.
It's okay.
At all.
So, Carino gets a couple of drinks. He's drinking like Red Bull and vodka, and I'm drinking, water. And we're sitting there, and we're just watching people. People watching is like one of my favorite activities. Just watching people go by, and every time somebody goes by, me and Carino is so rude. We're like, look at that. Some of them are like big jacked up guys, but they got dresses on, but they don't have any makeup on, and some of them are, it's just ridiculous. So Carino looks at me and goes, I'm kind of nervous. I don't know whether to should I face the bar or should I face like away from the bar? Like, I don't know what to do. And we're standing there sticking out like two sore thumbs, and finally I go, man, I gotta pee. And Carino goes, oh, thank God. He's like, I had to piss for 45 minutes. He's like, but I didn't want to go alone. So we walk into the bathroom.
So who's acting like the broads?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's very ironic. So we walk into the bathroom, and there's a line in the guy's bathroom. Like, I didn't even know what bathroom to go into. If you're a transvestite, which bathroom do you go into? You go into the girls, or do you go into the guys? I mean, you're a guy, you have a penis, so you go into the guy, but you're dressed as a girl, and it's whatever. We walk into the bathroom. It was like fucking Wrigley Field, like a ballpark. There was just a line. And I walk in, and it was like the place stops, and everybody turns and looks at me and Carino, and I go, I've never seen a line in a guy's bathroom before. And Carino just busts out laughing. This is only funny to him and me. Everyone else is just looking at us. So finally, the bathroom actually clears out. I got a urinal. Carino locks himself in a stall. And all of a sudden, Carino goes, wait! Punk, I can't see you! Don't leave without me! and so I have to sit there and talk to him the whole time. We come back out of the bathroom, back up against the bar. I'm sitting there. Carino's getting progressively more drunk. And as we're sitting there, we're just laughing at everybody. This 8-foot-tall transvestite. She was 8 feet tall. Standing up. She had high heels on, of course. Me and Carino are looking up at her. She walks by, stops, just backpedals right up, and looks at us and goes, you two aren't from around here. And me and Carino just gulp, She's nose to nose with Carino, and Carino's shaking, looking direct. He's looking up at her. He's, Where are you from? I'm from America. And she goes, oh, the States. Honey, you should go to Chicago. And before Chicago is out of his mouth, I step up and Carino goes, my friend's from Chicago! My friend's from Chicago! Exit stage left, Steve Carino. So now I'm looking up face to face with this gigantic, beastly transvestite. She goes, oh, you ever been to Halsted Street? Me not thinking, Halsted Street in Chicago is Boys Town. Like Halsted and Belmont, and there's like a 6 block area.
They put them all in one area,
It's Boys Town, just like there's a little Puerto Rico or maybe like a little Italy. There's Boys Town. I'm sure there's one in your hometown too. The thing about it is, since Halsted runs the entire city, like I used to live by Halsted Street. My apartment with Ace Steel is on like Irving and Kimball, not too far away from Halsted, about 7-8 minutes away from Wrigley Field. And I go, the north side. I used to live on the north side. Why did I say that? Oh, I went there one time and I went to the manhole and I didn't leave for 3 days, honey. I don't know what to say to this. Like, I don't know, like, oh, yeah, I can't say me too. Yeah. So I'm all like, great.
I know what you mean.
So I go, up high. Tranny tries to go down low. Hand gets swatted. Fist goes up and I scream, I will beat your ass! And then the place stops. 150 transvestites all turn and look at me.
I will survive goes off the radio.
Carino just goes, how close are we to the door? Because we legit thought we were going to have to fight our way out of this bar, and we would have gotten our asses kicked. And Dick Murdoch would have been rolling in his grave. We would have gotten beaten up by 100 men dressed as women, and some of them were just so horrible looking. So like the music kind of starts playing again, and she was like, "Oh, you need to settle down." And I was like, "No, I will suck you right in the Adam's apple." And then she was like, "Oh, feisty," and like she walked away, and like all the FWA guys were just like splitting up. They were freaking out. It was hilarious. And just when you thought the night couldn't get any better, they had a lip sync dance competition. And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen, man. There was one transvestite that looked like Gollum, was all skinny. So I busted out my camera and started taking pictures, you know. There was a tag team of transvestites in red matching outfits, one black, one white. So the whole night we're calling them Shelton, we're calling them Haas and Benjamin. They don't even know. We're like, Haas, Benjamin, come on over here, you know. So we're screaming, you know, like they're doing votes by applause. So me and Karina the whole time were like, "That's my guy!" And just all this stupid stuff, you know, like. And finally, there was a group of women there, and like I looked and I go, "Wow, there's actually a group of women," and they were older women. And Alex Shane explained to us that like I guess a lot of women like to come to transvestite bars because they don't get bugged by sleazy guys. It makes sense, I guess.
Little do they know.
They just want to dance, you know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, you know, so we're standing there, and the women come right up to us, and she looks at me and she goes, "You don't look gay." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she looks at Carino and goes, "Are you a woman?" And in the best delivery ever, I mean, Carino is just drunk by this point. He sips his drink and goes, "Are you?" And it was like the way it had, the look on her face, she was so appalled, but it just made my night. And I started laughing in the woman's face, and then we left. And then the kicker for the night that topped it off was we had to piss so bad we stopped at a gas station. But just like here in America, the gas station was closed, and they had like the little slot you're supposed to give the guy money and stuff like that. And we're like, "Please let us in, we gotta pee." And the guy's like, "No, you can't use my bathroom." And he's like all adamant about it. He's like, "You can't use my bathroom, but if you want, just go piss on the side of the building." So there's 8 wrestlers all just pissing. The cops were going by and they're waving at us. We're like, "Oh, this is pretty weird." Great night. Great night. Steve Carino, great guy. Great guy.
All right, next on the list is Homicide.
Homicide.
I'll let you start this one.
All right. Homicide as a person is a great guy, man. He's probably one of the most solid cats, you know. You know what you get with Homicide, man. He's just a cool cat who is down from the get down. I mean, if you got any problems, in New York, call Homicide. He's gonna take care of it for you.
He'll stab you.
He will, or he won't stab you,
and he will miraculously get away with it.
Yes.
That's the great thing about Homicide.
That's the great thing about Homicide. But Side's a cool cat, and we always have fun with him, including one time when Side came out to Southern California.
Everybody
was out to Southern California.
Cast of characters, Joe.
We had the cast of characters were in full force out in Southern California. CM Punk, myself, Homicide, B-Boy.
It was the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
It was for a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show, I believe.
Yeah, it was the
2-day tag tournament. Yeah, so everybody and their grandmother was out there. So, of course, whenever ROH guys come out to Southern California, in general, pretty much, they're more than welcome to stay with me in my humble abode. And we usually go out and have a good time and have a few drinks, except for him. He has cranberry juice while I drink my vodka cranberries, and we all have a good time. So, on one particular night after the first night of the tournament, it was myself, Homicide, B-Boy, the Havana Pitbulls, Nozawa.
Nozawa was there. Reyes flaked out. He had to go rub his girlfriend's feet or something. Yeah.
So Reyes did punk. Rick Noon did punk out.
He
the whole
punked
affair.
out huge.
Huge. I got my girl. Yeah, he's a punk.
Yeah,
so,
I got cramps.
Yeah, he's horrible. But Rocky Romero, Mr. Azucar himself, was in the house. So we all go out to establishment, which if you ever keep up with me and Punk, you know very much about the Green Girl Saloon, where the bartenders are all very good friends of mine, and they have a tendency to let the liquor flow quite freely to my party, and also they don't wear a lot of clothes. So here we are at the Green Girl Saloon having a grand old time, and Nozawa arrives to the party with a few other friends from Mexico or whatever, just friends that were driving around. And we are now drinking profusely and having a great time with the lovely lady bartenders at the Green Girl who don't wear many clothes. So
Nozawa, of course, spending his half of his time in Mexico and Japan, is a very big aficionado of tequila, so the bottles of Patron come flowing in droves. Now, Punk, being the designated driver of this whole affair, is watching this all and will soberly recount it to me. But as you can see, we did about 4 or 5 bottles of Patron.
Everybody got real drunk. You hear all these stories about wrestlers getting drunk. You hear your friends tell, man, I was so drunk. Let me tell you, there was this great hybrid English, Japanese, Spanish flying around the room because we all understand like enough of it.
We all understand enough of each language.
But with like Rocky and Nozawa there, it just turned into this ridiculous hybrid language. It was like all in carny. But it was, you know, half of it was Spanish, and like it was just
half of it was Japanese. You know, Doma Izzo, Ariga Dizzle. You know, it was ridiculous. So we're partying. I'm doing body shots off the bartenders. I mean, it's wild.
Wasn't Pierce and Baby Slim there?
Pierce and Baby Slim were there, and they were also quite blasted. In fact, I got Baby Slim to have a few drinks because, much like CM Punk, may not know this, Baby Slim does avoid the drink.
Yeah.
So
he just popped out. Hang on a minute.
Yeah. So while he does calisthenics, we're sitting there, we're drinking, we're partying, we're having a great time. And now comes the end of the night, and of course we have the good old standby designated driver when we need it, CM Punk. And of course we only came in one car, and that was Rocky Romero's car, which happens to be a stick shift. And unfortunately,
no. Man, you were drunk. Oh, shit, dude.
So what are you talking?
Hang on a minute. Let me get my knee back in.
You look like you're freaking pole dancing.
I know. Son of a bitch.
So CM Punk is going to drive us home, but his stick tip, he hasn't drove a stick in quite a while, so he's a little bit rusty.
Give me a second. I'll get back in.
It could have gone out at a perfect time because he's trying to refute this bullshit. So as he's shredding the gearbox to pieces on Rocky's car, and I'm like hitting him in the back of the head with like a kendo stick or something, I don't know, I'm throwing stuff at him. He does finally get us back to my place, where I guess everybody was going to crash, but unfortunately where I stay personally in Orange County, it's a smaller place, so there wasn't a lot of room, but everybody managed to squeeze in. Now, as the night was wearing on, Nozawa kept pleading to us all that he needed a ride to LAX. He needed a ride to LAX, so he had to fly back to, was it Japan or Mexico? Japan. He had to fly back to Japan for an All Japan show like that week. So, no problem. But of course, when we get back to the house, everybody that was going to give him a ride is now passed out on my floor. And so that was the last I saw of him as I walked into my house and pretty much hit my bed, and I was out for the rest of the night. During the scope of the night...
You're ruining the story! Damn it! Alright, you know what? My knee's going to wait. I swear it's going to like lock up and I'm never going to be able to get it back in.
Alright.
Okay. Before we left the bar, B-Boy, being the lightweight in every aspect of his life that he is, and it's bad when a straight edge guy makes fun of you for the amount of alcohol you cannot carry. Everybody else is getting blitzed. I mean, they're just messed up. It was like somebody got married and there was a funeral on the same day. These guys are just a wreck. You know, Homicide's all, yo, Punk, I loves you. He's like, man, I want to tell you. He's like, the first time you worked me, you treat me with respect. And now, I always thank you for that. So, anything you need, no, fuck you, man, I'm serious. Everybody's that level of drunk where everybody loves each other. Except B-Boy, who's still clutching the one Corona he got as soon as he walked in, with the lime still kind of jammed halfway in the bottle and halfway not.
With a look of
half
terror on
gone,
his face.
sweating bullets. Like he just smoked a PCP cigarette. Freaking out, looking around. He might have done one shot at tequila. It's probably what got him in the state of mind he was in. So I was looking at him, and the whole time I'm looking at him, I'm like, you're a mess. You're a mess, kid. Whose car are we taking? B-Boys.
Was it B-Boys or was Rockies?
No, it was not Rockies. Rocky did not have a stick shift.
That's right. It's an automatic. My bad.
So B-Boys all like, yeah, can you drive stick? And I'm like, fuck you, you're drunk. Give me your keys. He's like, can you drive stick? That wasn't obviously the point. The point was he was drunk, and I'm not. I'm designated driver. No, I can't drive stick, but it's B-Boy's car. Who cares, right? So we all pile in. It's me.
Benny in the front.
Benny's in the front because he's
Homicide, and
Rocky.
And Rocky in the back.
Right? So we're gonna go home. We're gonna just drive home. It's a short drive, right?
Yeah.
I can get the stick shift. It's super, super easy. B-Boy gives me a crash course in it. Fine, no problem. We're driving home. Everybody wants Del Taco.
But no, wait. I stalled 4 fucking times.
Coming out of the parking lot because I can't let go of the clutch and hit the gas and say, this is the first time I've ever even tried to drive a stick, right? But the madness ensues when we get to Del Taco and I stall a whole 85 times going through the drive-thru. Because as soon as we're stopped, we're screwed. We're going to stall, and I got to start the car back up. B-Boy's laughing at me. I'm full-on slapping him in the face. Shut up! Shut up, you're drunk! Everybody gets all this food. I mean, when everybody's drunk, how much food everybody gets. And me, I'm a big fat pig anyway, so it was just burrito after taco, carbone, quesadillas, and just drinks we didn't need, and just all this shit.
I think Homicide ordered 3 Dr. Peppers and a Dr. Pepper. Hey dog, give me Dr. Pepper.
So we get all this food, we go back to Joe's, right, and everybody just kind of starts eating. Well, I immediately grab my spot on the floor. I'm like, this is where I'm sleeping. Nozawa starts begging me for a ride. I'm like, Nozawa, I ain't got a car that I know how to drive. I'm like, and I don't know exactly how to get there. I could probably get you there. I'm like, but I ain't going to be able to get back, blah, blah, blah. Everybody else is drunk. Nozawa, disappears.
Yeah, disappears.
He just wanders away. We realized that halfway through the rest of the night, I was like, where's Nozawa? So finally, everybody's kind of settling down and picking where they're going to sleep. Benny passes out. Absolutely passes out. Joe's on his bed. Joe starts falling asleep. Rocky is all like, well, I'm going to go home. I was like, Rocky, you're drunk. Give me your keys.
He was hammered.
Yeah. And Rocky won't give me his keys. So Rocky, give me your keys. So Rocky starts fighting me. And I'm not
it's a fight.
Not like play fight.
It's a fight.
Like Rocky slugged me in the face. So I fucking, I took him down and shit like that, We're wrestling around.
And Rocky's working his guard, a drunken guard.
And Joe's passed out on his bed, and the whole time, shit's falling down,
My place is getting wrecked at this point.
Just getting destroyed. So finally, I'm on top of Rocky, and I'm like, give me your keys. And he's like, get off me, and I'll give them to you. So I get off him, and I'm standing above him. He's like, you want my keys? Whips, Dennis Eckersley sidearms him at me, hits me directly in the dick, dude. Wham! Oh! I go down, I look up at Rocky, and Rocky immediately goes, oh, and curls up into the fetal position because I just attack. And I was like, ah! Further knocking down all of Joe's DVDs and all this other shit, blah, blah, blah. Homicide's passed out on a picnic bench outside. Finally...
he passed, he didn't make it in the house.
Yeah, he didn't. Finally... I decided to be funny, and I'm like, I'm going to paint Joe's toenails, because this is how crazy or whatever I am. So I started painting. And I got Rocky keys. He's like, fine, you want me to leave? Fine, I'm going to paint his toes too. Give them to me. Rocky paints his entire foot blue.
it wasn't even like he was doing a good nail job. It's like, he's like...
Joe's foot got stuck to the wall because of all the nail polish that Rocky put all over it. So finally, I'm like, well, I'm going to go to bed, man. And then Joe wakes up. He was asleep, and then Joe just wakes up and goes... And he's got that face if you don't get the hell out of my way, I'm throwing up on you instead of trying to find the bathroom. So Joe makes it into the bathroom, and it's just dead silent. And I'm all like, it was so quiet for such a creepy amount of time. I was like, man, somebody seriously stick your head in there. I don't want Joe passed out, and he's going to go the way of Jimi Hendrix and choke on his vomit or something like that, Then all of a sudden you hear, I'm okay. I'm okay. And that's how drunk he was. He would violently vomit and then immediately start snoring again, right? So he's literally hugged the toilet, and I'm like, what the fuck, just leave him there. He eventually finds his way back into the bed. Finally, everybody's passed out. Everybody's asleep. Homicide's asleep at my feet. So his body and my body make a T.
It was adorable.
And I start dozing off. In the middle of the night, I'm awakened, and I don't know why.
Spider sense.
There's really no reason for me to wake up. There wasn't a noise, any kind of a crash. Nobody was throwing up. Everybody was dead silent. I wake up, and this is exactly what I see. Homicide, standing above me, undoing his belt. And I'm laying there, and I pull the sheets up, and I go, Dude, what are you doing? And he goes, Yo, I'm taking a piss. And I was like, not here. I'm like, you're not in the bathroom. He's like, I gotta pee, yo. I gotta pee. And I was all like, D. And and I physically had to get up and grab his hips. This is before he dropped his drawers. Turn him and like shuffle him into the bathroom like he was just learning how to be potty trained, right? So I get him in the bathroom and I sit back down and I'm like, woo! And then I don't hear him peeing. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Everybody's so drunk. So I just kind of say, fuck it. He didn't pee on me. Rad. And I go back to bed, right? The next morning I wake up. Rocky, hey man, my girl's calling me. I'm good now. I gotta split. I give Rocky his keys. Rocky leaves. This is about the time when I notice, where the hell did Nozawa go? Finally, Joe wakes up, feels like shit. His foot's blue. He looks around his room. It looks like a tornado.
Let me explain the scene. I wake up to my DVD collection, my cabinet knocked down, my TV now turned sideways, my computer desk kicked up, I've linens and sheets and clothes everywhere. I swear to God, I saw blood. And it's like the fucking chicken burrito fairy went crazy in my house.
No,
because I wake up in the morning and there's like pieces of a fucking chicken burrito like scattered among my fucking place. Like
if you put an M80 in this chicken burrito,
yeah.
It blew up.
So I wake up, I roll over on like fucking a piece of a chicken burrito. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I go, are you fucking kidding? And like everybody's now waking up because now I'm starting to get loud and pissed off. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And
I'm laying there acting like I'm asleep.
Yeah, he's in the fetal position.
There's literally food all over.
And everybody else like this. And like I'm following the trail of this chicken burrito throughout the night until it leads all the way back outside the table. And like whoever fucking ate this thing ate it like he's fucking like ass backwards.
He bit it like a fucking
like it's a fucking corn cob. I mean, he ate a burrito like fucking this, and like it just
eats a burrito.
And there was like 2 bites out of it, and the rest was scattered all over my fucking place.
And then Joe goes in the bathroom and I hear, this is all I hear. And this is when you knew I was awake because I bust out laughing. I hear, we spilled all this water on the floor. And I know it's not water because I couldn't hear Homicide pee. So I start laughing. I hear D just start to wake up. And D doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
Like, hey D, you remember last night you tried to pee on me? What? No. So we immediately, like, you know, everything's finally calmed down. We get everything cleaned up, and like we have to tell low key. He thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, because I was the only white thing in the room apparently.
So he looked like
porcelain. So he's calling up low key. Man, yeah, D almost peed on Punk. Blah blah blah. Low key's all, hey, that happened before. Apparently it happened before. We're like, I can't remember whose apartment.
It was like Monster Mac's house.
Monster Mac's house, or it was Dee's apartment, or
And
something
he
like that.
closet.
Somebody's mom was getting it on with their husband or their stepdad or boyfriend or whatever, and Dee busts into the room. Ah, yeah, I gotta pee! And opens up the closet door and just pisses all over her shoes. So, yeah, man, if you're a fan and you're getting loaded and drunk with Homicide, man, sleep elsewhere because that motherfucker will pee on you.
That's right.
Dude, I almost got peed on. You know, like, and I love D. He's a great guy. You just like everybody else.
And,
do anything.
and once again, for the life of us,
if he peed on me, I would have to kill him.
For the life of us, for 3 days straight, we still did not know what happened to Nozawa.
Yeah, had no idea. Until finally Nozawa called one of us and was like, hey, thanks for the good time. And we were like, where'd you go?
He's like, I'm in Japan. We're like, oh, great.
So yeah, that night, so everybody go back and watch your Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Night 2 of the tag tournament and watch how absolutely screwed up everybody is but me. Watch Homicide. He's so screwed up.
He threw up between his first round match and his second round match.
Yep. Oh, my knee. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's quite awesome. What else you got there?
Low-key.
Loki?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
I think it got back in.
Got it?
Yeah.
Loki, good guy, you know.
Low-key's crazy.
This
This is a shoot interview, right? I'm friendly with Low-key.
Yeah, he's crazy, though.
I'll tell him to his face. He's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. Goes to ridiculous lengths to, you know, to keep kayfabe and stuff like that. And I applaud that. I do the same thing. But, you know, I mean, if you're going to do an internet interview, you know, it's the internet. You know, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But basically, the first time I ever really hung out with Low-key, it was me, Daniels, Cabana, Sandman, and Low-key. And we went out to some nightclub in Pittsburgh. And the big hot song at the time was, what's that song? North Carolina. Take your shirt off, twist it around your head like a helicopter.
Yeah.
Right. So that song came on in the club, and I watched and giggled as Low-key struggled to take his T-shirt off, and I just held it, but he didn't know I was holding it. So the whole time Low-key's on the dance floor, the entire
He was into
song,
it.
trying to get his shirt off. Now, but Loki's a great guy, aside from squatting furniture and hulking up before his matches. Loki's very intense. You know, he takes his business very, very seriously. You know, so that's a plus. But he's crazy. He's just crazy.
Colt Cabana.
He's crazy too.
Yeah, he's wacky.
But in a
too.
completely different way. Cabana is the funniest guy I probably know. Loves comedy and joking around. But I also think people. He's a very underrated wrestler. But you know, I mean, his entire life is like just one big joke. You know, like he's constantly screwing off. I got 1,000,001 Cabana stories, you know, because he's pretty much the guy I broke in with. He started training like, I don't know, man, like maybe 6 months after I did at Domain, and at Steel Domain in Chicago. And like, I always remember, like, you know, I got a horrible memory, but I always remember the first day. Cabana was in there, and he's wearing a Doug Collins basketball camp T-shirt, and I looked at him and I was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Scott." "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Punk." He's like, "Oh, cool, nice to meet you." And he's like the first guy I ever clicked with, you know. So me and him would always pair up and do spots and just work on stuff. And you know, we traveled up and down the roads together, and you know, came to Ring of Honor together, and you know, we're in the Second City Saints together. And
He's also one of the most frugal people I've ever met in my life. Little known fact.
what are you saying?
Little known fact about Cabana. Yeah, little know my ass. Yeah, so I've known Cabana. He's wacky. Yeah, there's 200 million stories.
He's the master of gimmicks.
Master of gimmicks, man. Master of gimmicks. If you're working a non-ROH, if Cabana's on a non-ROH show or maybe a smaller indie show out there, I want you to go visit Cabana's gimmick table and just witness the lengths that he will go to make money in his pro wrestling.
Yes.
Including going down to Tijuana. And ladies and gentlemen, if you ever bought a mask from Colt Cabana, I want you to know that he paid $1 for 60 Max off the street corner in TJ. $1! And then turned around and sold it to you for upwards of $35. Sorry, is that camera? Fucking with me, these cameras. It's that one.
Far right.
So Colt Cabana sold you a mask. The mask you're wearing right now, because if you bought that mask, I swear to God, you had better bought this shoot. He bought that mask for $1 off a very impoverished Mexican woman on the street corner outside of Arena Tijuana. Sold it to you for $35. And Colt Cabana, God bless you for doing so, sir. But I just want you people to know. I'm going to put my finger away now.
Colt Cabana may or may not also be the master of ganking.
Yes.
Which is our cute little word for. It basically originated when you're doing indie shows for like the first year and you're not guaranteed a whole lot of pay, and then you even get stiffed on that pay, or you don't get the trans that's promised to you. You basically, because you hate this promoter now, try to steal anything and everything that is not tied or nailed down. We've done road trips. My big thing is when we would do shows in bars, I would always take the beer tap thing. Always. I had a box full of them. I didn't know what to do with them. When I moved, I threw them all out. Cabana's big thing is, since he's probably the laziest man on earth, constantly taking like there's napkins or plastic forks, spoons, bowls, cups, anything. He does
not have a pair of metal silverware.
He's loading his bag. He's loading his car. He's doing everything, and then he'll call you all excited. "Man, I worked this show last night." "Yeah? How many people?" "Who fucking cares, man? I got this big thing of Solo cups. I don't gotta wash cups for like 3 months." Like, and he has the dirtiest apartment since me and Ace Steel lived together. The dirtiest apartment. I walk in there and there's like, obviously the Telltale pizza boxes and stuff like that, but just really weird stuff like his bloody singlet, like hanging up, like as if it's on display. There's a squat rack in his apartment
for no reason.
His roommate Kip one day calls him up and goes, "Hey, when you go home, don't get mad." He's like, "I got the squat rack for real cheap. It was a deal. I couldn't pass it up." So he's just sitting in the middle of the apartment. You just wait and everything, and like every once in a while, it's like prison, You just sit there, you're just hanging out, you're watching TV, do some sets, like whatever. It's pretty ridiculous. And Cabana also has the best parents too. I remember one time, his dad, his dad's a salesman, which is probably where Cabana gets a lot of his carnyisms from.
But the best part is he sells clothes for P. Diddy's Sean John collection, as well as FUBU and all your major Urban Outfitters. So he's always real flossy when I can see him.
Yes. He's his attire doesn't match his demeanor, but it's pretty funny. So I was over at Cabana's house one time. We were going to a show, and he's like, wait, come here. And he calls me up the stairs. He's like, shh, my dad's sleeping. And then we get to the head of the stairs, and he points directly to the right, and I look over, and his dad is just cashed out. Because this relates to Colt Cabana, because this is going to be him in 20 years. His dad is cashed out on his bed, butt naked, except for a throw pillow over his unmentionables, just snoring. And I'm looking at it, and I look at him, and like I can't yell, I can't be like, yo, what the? So we gotta like go out of the house. We're down the block, and I'm like, why would you show me your naked dad? Like, what? He's like, I thought it was funny, And that's Colt Cabana in a nutshell, There's been plenty of times he's cheered me up, and he's been there as much as Daniels has, and
He's a giant fart joke.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I remember one time somebody, Danny Dominion, Ace Steel, and Adam Pearce were gonna rib Cabana, and they're probably gonna rib me too. I just happened to like be at the right place at the right time. So Cabana's, in the other room like getting his stuff, and I'm in the room with the vets, and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's rib Cabana, because they had his jacket in the room. So their big rib, which is really kind of disgusting,
it's a Pierce rib.
Yeah, it's Adam Pearce. Is to like wipe their ass and like put the toilet paper in the pocket. Well, like Ace wipes his ass and it's just like ass sweat. Ace ain't gross, like Dominion, same thing. Pierce like wipes his ass, comes up with like a fucking handful of shitty toilet paper. Like, Pierce, what's wrong with you? Like walking around with this shitty ass. And then stuffs it in Cabana's pocket, and I'm like, oh God. Like, that's grounds for a beating, I mean, you stick your hand in your pocket and you come up with somebody else's feces on your hand, man. That's, but Cabana rolled with the punches, man, And I'm sure he got Pierce back like tenfold doing something, What about Cabana making crank phone calls?
Oh, that's the best. Oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Wade Keller, if you ever got a phone call from in the middle of the night with somebody claiming that he knew about the return of the junkyard dog.
I know when JYD's coming back. Scoop, this just in. Who was it? Nick Bockwinkel has old balls.
So Wade Keller, if you're out there wondering who called you at, 4 in the morning and decided to leave you all these scoops on your...
It wasn't me. It was called Cabana. Cabana's awesome.
Ricky Reyes and Rocky Romero.
Well, I already kind of told you a good Rocky story, but there's plenty more Rick Noon stories, I think.
Okay, for those of you who don't know about the legend of Rick Noon, if you haven't visited Smojo.com or seen my live journal and read the accolades of Rick Noon is a man who is just a god among men. I mean, he only comes out, he's an extension of Ricky Reyes, but he only comes out after a very heavy night of drinking, and one such night happened in Chicago.
What's the story how it got to Noon? Wasn't he trying to, like, somebody asked him what his name was, and he tried to say his ring name and his real name at the same time,
but it
went
Rick Noon, because,
and everybody went, what?
That's basically how Rick Noon came about, and he, to this day, he maintains that that was going to be his name if he ever did porn, but but in reality, it was. I saw this lovely young lady at Kincaid's, the official ROH after party bar down in Chicago, came up to me and goes, so what's your name? And he went, and he was so drunk at this point, he went, I'm Rick Noon. And that
wasn't even a word.
That became the birth of Rick Noon. And for those you don't know, Rick Noon is also Rick James' bitch.
Yeah.
And he'll also proclaim that at the top of his lungs in the middle of a crowded bar to any woman that would come within his vicinity.
Of course, the height of the Dave Chappelle popularity.
Yes.
When everybody was, I'm Rick James, bitch, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't even funny to us anymore.
Yeah,
but it was funny when he was doing it.
Because he was just so drunk and insistent, and I started to believe it at one point during the night. So anyways, afterwards, Ricky was drinking a tremendous amount, and we decided we were going to go to the Wiener Circle. And those of you who are Insomniac fans on Comedy Central will know much about the Wiener Circle, or just people who live in Chicago, and you see at the Wiener Circle the attendants behind the counter there aren't the most cordial people in the world. And of course, Ricky wasn't really smartened up to this. So when Cabana walks through the door and says, "Hey bitches, my little Mexican friend here wants a hot dog, let's get it on fucking stat," and they reply with, "Fuck you, motherfucker, who the fuck are you?" At which Rick Noon, not knowing that,
Just the stunned look on his face.
Just
They call him
like-
a fish-faced, beady-eyed, little Mexican bastard.
he's
And
like,
he-
what bitch? What? Well, fuck you, bitches, you
He was ready to throw down.
shit and fucking. And he goes into this verbal tirade, which really isn't making any sense, but he's very intent and very hateful in the words he's saying to us. But then the lovely ladies behind the counter at the Wiener Circle proceed to start snapping and popping everybody in the restaurant at the horrible insults they're throwing away, including, "Shouldn't you be mowing my lawn, motherfucker? I know I was not late this month," which elicited a great O from, well, us and Ian Rocky Romero.
Yeah.
and which is proceeding to get Rick Newton more and more mad.
And he's full of the lamest insults because
Yeah.
he's so drunk. Like, I said something to him, and he looks at me and he goes, "Fuck you and your fine-ass girlfriend."
Which is...
How was that even an insult? I was like, awesome, all right.
it was real, like, uncomfortable omission, like...
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, that's
hey.
kind of creepy now. that I
Yeah,
think about
yeah.
it.
Not that you think my chick's hot. But for those of you who don't know, go to SamoaJoe.com, go click on my live journal, scroll down until you find an entry called Rick Noon Goes to Chicago, and I heavily advise you to download the video to see the brilliance of Ricky Reyes as Rick Noon.
And know that he vomited all over Cole Cabana's car.
Oh yeah, know that he rolled up the window to vomit all over Cole Cabana's car.
Know that he was looking this way, and
Yeah.
somebody said, "No, the window," and he just turned and went, hit the window and went everywhere.
How did you guys become friends?
I'm not his friend. I hate him. I'm just getting paid for this, right?
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Okay, how do we become friends?
How do we become friends?
Um,
Should we tell them about the parallel lives theory?
Yeah, but that's something we discovered later in life. I would just say that I remember, I always remember hearing about Joe, and he came to Ring of Honor, and I don't think he started on a show I wasn't on, and the show I started on he wasn't on.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause I
And
was
then
on
pretty
it.
much after that, we were on every single show, and
I think I popped him with a line because like
yeah, me and it was something stupid. Like we both had the same CD player, and I was like, "What are you listening to?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm listening to this." And what are you listening to? Oh, blah blah blah. And he goes, "So you're straight edge, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's all like, "If you're not now, you never were." And I was all like, "Wow,
you should know that.
wow, you're not half as dumb as everyone said you were." Great. And then I guess just from there, just I don't know, man.
Yeah, it kind of went from there.
I guess we have a like personality.
Yeah, there we go. Both assholes we want to be. But then later on we discovered that we had this little weird parallel lives thing going on. Gosh,
Very
we
weird.
even tell the story. This story.
Let's tell the G-rated one about. Let me start, and then I'll
All
let
right.
you. I'll let you. Okay, we have this thing where if something happens to me, literally, honest to God, the exact same thing will happen to Joe, or it already happened to him,
Yeah,
and
or-
he just hasn't been able to get to a phone to warn me. I pretty much met Tracy Brooks in such a way, but we won't tell that story. And I know you people are so mad right now. But it's pretty violent and X-rated. But there was one time in Nashville, we were out at some club, some bar or something like that. Probably it was the same place me and Chris Daniels did the boxer short contest,
Didn't happen to me first though.
which is a story for another time. Did it?
Yeah, I think it happened to me first, then I called you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it happened to you first.
So we've established that, like, because from these previous events, God, the Tracy Brooks story is great though. God, she'd kill you. So we got these weird parallel lives thing going on. So I called him a few days earlier, and normally, like, I usually call Daniels or somebody just when something went down. And I'd gotten into a little bit of a scuff. I was out with this young lady at this bar, and this gentleman was very drunk and very persistent while I was talking to some friends about dancing with my girl, and she didn't want to dance with them, and basically kind of, he finally put her hands on her, and I got angry and threw him through a glass partition. Luckily, I knew the bouncers there, and they carted me out the back and covered for me and said the guy was drunk and threw himself through it. But yeah, there's taped evidence, yeah. And the guy was so drunk that he said a large Asian man had thrown him through. So right now, Akibono's fucked if he ever goes down to Orange County. But anyways, yeah. So there we are.
And I call him up, and I left a message for you, didn't I? I didn't even get through to it. And I go, man, you won't believe what just happened. I mean, we always joked around these parallel life things that happened in a few instances before. Just got into this huge fight in this bar, and I threw this guy, and he's a bloody mess, and I threw him through a glass partition, and he's still alive, but I really fucked him up bad. And
Joe felt bad.
Yeah, I felt horrible, because, like, I really did. This guy got messed up more than I intended. And I was like, I feel shitty about it. My temper got the better of me. I go, jokingly, so you know what? Just watch out. Don't want that parallel lives thing catching up to us. Then that very night.
Little does he know, it was Wednesday night after TNA pay-per-view, and I go out. Everybody's out with us. Everybody always went to the same place because everybody always got free drinks. Pretty much the group I was with was like me, Tracy, Daniels, Scott D'Amore, I remember being there, and the Cowboys. And the Cowboys want to go to their little fiddle bar. No shit. There was a fiddle guy on the stage playing. So, like, we walked a couple blocks and went to this bar, and it was a total country bar. I mean, people got boots, hats, everything. I stick out like a sore thumb, as always. So everybody's drinking and stuff like that. We find a table by ourselves in the back of the place, and there's a group of guys, 3 or 4 guys, and one guy is just drunk, and he's on his stool, and every single girl that walks by, he grabs. I mean, he's grabbing for anything. I'm pretty sure he's aiming for, like, tits or ass, but he's, whatever he can grab, he's grabbing. And every single girl's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And this guy's, like, being all rude, and Daniels points it out to me. He's like, should we go say something to that guy? And I was like, yeah, maybe blah, blah, blah. And then Tracy, she's like, you're not ruining my night. She's like, no fighting, none of this, no, you can't punch anybody. Promise me you're not going to punch anybody. So, okay, I promise. I promise, Tracy, I'm not going to punch anybody. She's like,
I'm not going to punch anybody.
Right. I'm hanging out with you, and we're having a good time. She's like, I don't want any of your macho bullshit. I was like, all right, cool. So, but then I'm just sitting there. And, I got 2 little sisters in Chicago, and I have a hard time, seeing like these women just getting groped, And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, this, fuck. So finally Tracy's like, I'm gonna go get a drink. She had probably my baseball hat on, like a red Canadians hockey hat on. She goes, the guy grabs her ass, and she doesn't look at the guy. She turns around to me. I'm already up, and she's like, I can handle myself. Blah blah blah. So she starts bitching at the guy and yells at him, and walks away. Daniels gets up and goes to the bathroom, and I watch as Tracy's like hat just kind of disappears in the crowd, and I look back down and the guy's just leering at me. And he's like staring at me like, yeah, I just grabbed your girl's ass, you know what? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, can't see Tracy. Daniels isn't anywhere here. But I am a big thing. I promised. I said I wasn't going to punch him. So I'm looking around, and this guy's friends are just like all kind of like looking around, and there's like a really intense like 5-minute stare down. Finally, I get up. I look around. Just as I start walking, Daniels opens the bathroom door. I headbutt the shit out of this guy. I mean, wham! Sounds like 2 fucking football helmets hitting each other. Boom! This guy just falls off his bar stool. Daniels, Jesus Jones, what's going on? The other guy's friends come, start like picking him up. Daniels steps in. I grab Daniels. All of a sudden, Tracy walks up with drinks for everybody. Daniels goes, come on, everybody, we're leaving. Let's go. And so, because these guys all want to fight now. And now I'm thinking, somebody's getting thrown through a fucking window. This is going to be great. And Tracy's like, what happened? What happened? And Daniel's all like, I know, Punk's pissed about something, blah, blah, blah. And I remember she found that story out because you spilled the beans on that one, and I got in trouble.
Yeah. Because I was telling the same story. Hey, remember that night I threw the guy through the glass and you headbutted that dude on the bar stool?
She was like, wait, what? What? So something stupid happens to Joe, something stupid happens to me. Something stupid happens to me, something stupid happens to Joe. And literally, I'm dialing up Joe. I'm like rubbing my head walking out of the bar. And Tracy's like, what happened? What happened? And I'm like, parallel lives. And I'm like talking in code in front of everybody. I'm like, no window, but plenty of other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, God, there's so many other stories. What else we got? There's so much stupid stuff.
Stuff that I think if I told, I'd be arrested.
Yeah, I know. There's
any FIP stories?
Yeah, there's plenty of FIP stories. Okay, me being the guy that I am, I guess I have this reputation, for some reason, as much as I say, and believe that I'm a feminist. You know, I'm always standing up for women and all this other stuff, and I hate strip clubs. Before FIP, I was at one strip club once in my entire life, and obviously I got dragged there kicking and screaming. But the FIP shows are run in the back of a strip club. So, of course, I mean, Homicide spends his entire weekend payday, you know, in the boom boom room. The rad thing about this strip club, though, is there's a barbecue guy. He totes this big ass like
barbecue.
backyard barbecue behind
So
his
good.
Econoline van, and like every Friday and Saturday night, the dude just parks out in front of the strip club because everybody's, you know, drunk. I normally sit outside and bullshit with the barbecue guy and just eat food all night, you know. Every time I go there now, all the girls know me, and I've been warned to not talk to any of the girls because apparently I piss them off and they hate me, you know. But if a girl comes up to me and sits down and I'm in the strip club, I let them know. I go, look, I'm not giving you any money, and I don't want to talk to you. You know, just get away from me. And apparently this was rude. But the night me and Homicide brawled into the strip club, the girls weren't smartened up apparently, but like the bouncers were, because you know I told Sal, the promoter, I was like, man, if me and D go in there, you know, and a bouncer, you know, grabs one of us, I'm like, he's gonna get fucked up, you know. I'm like, so you gotta tell him. So the only people who knew were the bouncers. The girls didn't know. So me and Homicide go fight up on the stage, and you know we're like beating each other up. And after, like, the girls jumped off stage, they're horrified. And then finally, after they, you know, they're probably like, oh, it's part of the show. They jumped up on stage and started like grinding up against each other. Well, I took that personally, like they're trying to take away from what I'm trying to do, and I'm working here. And I understand so are they.
It's working.
So
the way the man works.
I got this close to one of their faces, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, "You're a whore!" And I held that O for a real long time, right? So the crowd popped. All the wrestling fans thought it was funny. Homicide was chuckling. You know, we finished, wrapped it up, blah, blah, blah. After the show, Sal, the promoter and owner of the strip bar, comes up to me and goes, "Hey, you got to do me a favor." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Well, what you need, man?" He's like, "You got to go apologize to those girls." Wait, what? I'm like, for what? Well, you called them whores. I was like, yeah? What's your point? He's like, they're really upset about it. I'm like, they're strippers. And okay, whatever, Sal. I was like, if it's going to make you happy, you know, I'm like, I'll go do it. And he goes, they're just in front of the strip club smoking weed in their car. And I just looked at Sal and I was like, oh, okay, great. So I walked up to the car. Girl rolls the window down because she's expecting an apology. She's like, yeah. I went, yeah, you're a whore. And I tell you, Homicide lost it. Homicide absolutely lost it. Homicide tried giving me dollar bills at that point.
Yo, tell me about the time that you called Gabe as Homicide.
Oh. God, I was in a car with somebody, and whoever this is better stop calling me. It was the couple nights before the All Japan Ring of Honor show, Final Battle 2003, I think.
2003.
And I guess I do a pretty good Homicide impersonation. So you can imagine over the phone, over a cell phone, it probably sounds all that much better. So I was in the car with somebody who had a New York number, and we were driving to a show or from a show, and they're like, I was doing the Homicide, and they're like, yo, you should crank call Gabe. So I do. I crank call Gabe. He answers the phone. And I was all, yo, it's D! And he's like, hey, D, what's up? He's like, yo, you know how I'm in Puerto Rico.
And D was
in Puerto Rico that week before. He's like, listen, man, you know, I want to thank you. You know, I love Ring of Honor. You do great things for my career. But they want to push me. They put the belt on me. They promise a lot of money. And I'm going on and on. And Gabe's all, well, so what? Yeah, good for you, good. I want you to make money, blah, blah, blah. Man, I gotta cancel off the All Japan show. And I know, like it's my dream to wrestle Kojima. I thank you, Gabe. I thank you for, but I gotta do what's, I gotta raise my kid, my son. I gotta do that. And Gabe is now, I can hear Gabe's heartbeat, and I just keep pouring it on and saying like the most ridiculous words, I'm sorry, Gabe. All Japan, Kojima, Lariat. I know, the money's too good and they want me to stay and I don't have to pay rent. They're going to buy my food. You know, it's warm down here. And I'm going on and on and on. And Gabe is just freaking out. And finally,
What do you mean? What?
yeah, I mean, it's Kojima. I know it's Kojima. And I just keep going on. I mean, I hear Gabe's like heart breaking, you know, like arteries exploding.
It's a few days out from the show. We can't possibly. I just don't understand this. It's just.
So finally, I'm like, yo, you know this isn't homicide. And Gabe's not even listening at this point. He's like, D, you can't do that. You gotta do that. Yeah, this CM Punk, I just fucking with you, you know. And I carried on for that about another 2 minutes until finally Gabe goes, wait, what? It's like, yo, and I didn't even use my real voice. I was like, yo, it's Punk. I'm in the car with so-and-so. We're going to the show. I'm like, I totally got you. You thought homicide was canceling. And Gabe is now just livid. Like, when Gabe gets really, really pissed, he screams like a woman. Ah! He's like going nuts. And finally, he like hung up on me. And then I didn't see him until like the show. He was like, you motherfucker. He's like, I had a fucking heart attack. He's like, I didn't know what to do. That was one of our main events. And Gabe, I've seen throw a temper tantrum many, many times.
You don't understand. If we should have a camera backstage to show you the fits that Gabe throws at ROH shows when stuff doesn't go right. Like, especially if it's like lighting cues or music isn't hit at the right time. Oh my God, the clipboards that have been punished.
I watched him whip because the FIP shows, since it's in like an after bar, like the place is all clean and nice, and they have all the ashtrays stacked up on one table. And I saw him one by one take every single ashtray and whip it against the wall until we're knee deep in like just ashtray plastic. And you know, it's not fucking hard to he fucked up the whole show. And even Sal, the guy who owns the promotion, is like, there's only 15 people out there. Who cares, you know? And it's a DVD product, and he's freaking out and screaming and just breaking shit. And there's a vein in his head that looks like it's gonna burst. Awesome. Oh, it's tremendous. Tremendous.
Like that's part of the show. Is like, you know, the guys will watch a little bit of the show, but they also like always have one eye on Gabe for that moment if there is like a big like production fuck up.
There's been a bunch of times where Gabe's having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, everybody. I don't know how many times I've been in the locker room and it's been like Gabe's having a temper tantrum, and everybody runs out to the hallway to go watch it. It's great. Motherfucking cocksucking light guy, fucking.
In closing, any other stories that stand out there as memorable?
There's tons of stories.
Yeah.
A lot of them can't be told yet until we're in our latter years, and we're far exempt from the repercussions.
I would like you people to understand that there's some stories that are just I want to tell, but
oh my God, you have no clue.
I mean, I would even if I changed the names to protect the innocent.
They would do no good.
You people would figure it out, and it just it wouldn't help my cause at the moment. I do got one funny story. I told it in my live journal, so I mean, I apologize if you think it's boring and you've heard it before, but I remember one time, it was the Christmas before last, and I stayed in Nashville for the TNA Christmas party, which was at a bowling alley. How country. And I stayed on there, and the next day, me, Tracy, and ODB, because ODB lives in Minnesota, they were going to drop me off on their way in Chicago so I could spend Christmas with my little sisters and stuff like that. They were going to continue on. Tracy, I think it might have been the first time she met my parents. And my dad's got like 3 Brittany Spaniels. So I brought her in the house, and you know, Tracy grew up on a farm, so she misses all the animals and stuff like that. And one dad's dog, Rowdy, was, I don't know, he was just so excited. He just pissed all over me. He jumped up on me, and then before I realized it, I got piss all down my leg. Tracy thinks it's hilarious. She's laughing her ass off until Shotzi, the newest puppy, runs up, jumps up on Tracy, and pisses all over her. It was a great scene. My dad loved it. My dad popped huge. So me and Tracy were both sitting in our underwear, like washing jeans at my parents' house. And that's, you know, that's got to be a great first impression for for Tracy and my parents. Yeah.
Good one.
That story sucked.
Yeah. Whew. Well, actually, there was one Christmas even before that where he was staying out in Cal. Well, no, it was Christmas after that, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Where you were staying at my house. Mm-hmm. But leading up to it, it was actually no, it was the Christmas before last, but it was before we went back home. He was staying out with me. Here we are in California. We're having a good time.
Ibiza story.
The Ibiza story. And we decide that we're going to go out and we're going to go crash the Sharon Osbourne celebrity auction that night because my friend, he kind of runs in those circles, gave me a call, says, hey, do you guys want to come down to the Sharon Osbourne celebrity auction? We said, fuck yeah, we do. And our whole plan is just to go there and like get to a bidding war with somebody, then leave like the party, like, you know, and somebody like famous too, so we look like total assholes.
Yes.
So it was a charity auction, and that's pretty scummy. So
we've been out of there like thieves in the night.
So we
$2 million.
we're about to go to this thing. I get a call back from him. He says, dude, it's Dullsville here. Nobody showed up. Nobody's buying anything. It's like, and trust me, it's not even worth coming up. It's like, shit. So I'm calling around to all my contacts, and I'm trying to get us into some place to give him an experience, because it's one of his first times out in California, so I want to take him out and show him a good time, and I have a lot of friends in other places. Call my friends at Key Club, call my friends at Viper Room, all this place, and everybody's like, no, it's kind of Deadsville, because it's the middle of the week, too. Finally, I get a call from my cousin, who works at this place called Club Ibiza. He called me and says, hey, listen, come down here right now. I go, well, tell me what's up, dude, because I want, shut the fuck up, get down here right now. And I go, well, okay, we're in the car looking at him and say, well, we're going to this place called Club Ibiza. Cruise down there.
Now, mind you, I don't go clubbing, man.
Doesn't go clubbing, doesn't even dress up, has no dress. This man does not
I look like this
24/7.
I'm a bum.
I'm pimped out, of course.
Oh.
So we pull up, we walk into the joint. There's a line wrapped around this building like 3 times, and I'm like, fucking A. So I walk to the door. My cousin, big Samoan guys, working the door. What's up? What's up? Wave us in. I mean, the line of chicks that were trying to get in this place was phenomenal. They're all looking at us like, who the fuck are those guys? And of course, he looks like a scumbag, so he looks like a fucking rock star walking into the place, like, you know, like fucking Tommy Lee just walked into the joint.
Right.
So we both, I look like his manager. So we walk.
Our bodyguard.
Yeah, our bodyguard. So we walk into this joint and we're cruising around. And I mean, I'm looking around, and Club Ibiza usually has a lot of hot chicks, but man, this night it was phenomenal. I mean, just plastic surgery as far as the eye could see.
And I don't go clubbing, so I think every club's like this.
So yeah, he's
I'm
like,
holy shit! What am I missing? There's a buffet with like lobster.
Free buffet with lobster.
Like, all this shit. And I'm looking around, I go, it's fucking Chuck Liddell!
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell's at the bar with like Team Punishment. Yeah, I will. Don't. Chuck Liddell's all up there, and I'm like looking around.
He's not with Punishment.
So now I'm thinking, this is the great, you know, like, man, so what, I don't drink. I'm going to start going clubbing. This is great, you know, like.
Tons of ass. I mean, it was fantastic time.
I mean, the amount of plastic boobs in this place
was just amazing. Amazing.
It boggles the mind.
So yeah, all these celebrities, all these fighters, like some guys I knew, I was like saying what's up to people. And so we're cruising around this place, and like the free buffet, which was the major stuff, was, I mean, lobster, steak, I mean, all this stuff just laid out there. He's like, is this shit free? I'm like, I guess it is.
And
so
I thought every club was like this.
Yeah, and I'm going, it's not normally like this. I can't believe that free buffet. Wow, it must be like some special thing they're having tonight. So we're sitting there eating, we're looking around, we're at the buffet getting lobster tails, and all of a sudden over the loudspeaker, welcome to the Spearmint Rhino Christmas Party 2003. So it's like, you know, it's the largest strip club chain in America's Christmas party that we've stumbled into. My cousin wants.
I didn't know that. I looked at you. I was like, what?
I'm all. It's a huge strip club. So like all the clubs that come on this night to this one Christmas party have a good time. So like my cousin comes rolling up. He's drunk as hell. He's got these 2 chicks there. Hey, what's up, cousin? What's up, man? What you thinking? I'm like, this is great. You know, he's like, here you go. You know, VIP. Go walk wherever you want. It's cool. So we're cruising around this joint and we're having a blast and meeting these chicks. And of course, he's got the whole. I mean, he looks like fucking shit. So obviously. The women think that, wow, this guy's ballsy enough to show, because all these fucking
I gotta be somebody, right?
Yeah, all these sugar daddies are showing up with like these 3-piece like suits.
That was the best thing. Like these sugar daddies are walking around with like their big expensive like Nokia cameras and stuff like that. Like their daughters were graduating from high school.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just running around and they got like 2 on each arm and they're all nicely dressed.
And the whole time the girls are looking at us.
Some of the best toupees I've ever seen in my entire life with these chicks that are 20 years younger than them. And they're like, you know, they're all walking around like they're pimps. And me and Joe are like standing there and the girls are all flocking to us.
Because they're like,
yeah. And these 2 guys gotta be somebody.
Yeah, they gotta be. So look at this fucking guy dressed in the club. I mean, he's gotta be some fucking.
Like a dirty hobo.
Oh. It was. So we're in there, we're having a blast. We got these chicks talking to chicks, having a good time. So at some point in the night, tell him the Chuck Liddell part, because this is his favorite part of the story.
Well, everybody's marking out for Liddell, so everybody's, can I take a picture with you? Can I take a picture with you? And every time I see Chuck taking a picture, I'm like, Joe, go fuck him up, because Liddell's doing all this shit. He's taking fucking pictures, and I'm like, he's taunting you, Joe, go get him. I'm like, come on, be a man, go get him. And like, you know, Liddell's doing this shit, and I'm trying to like do this shit and get Liddell's fucking attention, so I can like do this and like just duck out of the way. And Joe will be standing there and not knowing what the fuck was going on. Because I think it'd be funny if my best friend got beat up by Chuck Liddell. And that would ensure that I got to drive home. But,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but no, nothing ever happened.
So yeah, so that's the Chuck Liddell part of it. So anyways, he goes to the bathroom, right? And I'm at the bar still talking to some friends of mine and stuff like that. So he goes to the bathroom, and I fucking lose him. So I don't know where he's at. So I'm like, I'm walking to the bathroom to find him. So I'm walking to the bathroom. I come across the dance floor. I get grabbed by these two strippers. They pull me, sit me on a chair.
Everybody was a stripper.
Everybody was a stripper there. It was amazing. They pulled me on a chair, and these two opposing experiment rental clubs are not going to have a strip off at this dance party, and the judge was designated me. So here I am, and I'm in the process of getting 20 lap dances from 10 strippers from each club, and in effect to try to get the crowd riled up, and they're doing everything to me. I mean, I ended up walking out like half naked, my fucking shirt was unbuttoned, my hair's all fucked up, had a great old time. But now, like, you know, so there I am judging like the largest strip off in the world, I guess.
You're more than qualified.
Yes, I was more than qualified, let me tell you. Get up, have a great time, grab a couple of chicks from the thing after they win, and I go looking for him. So here I go, I cruise in, he's not in the bathroom. I walk into the VIP room, and I see Jackass up there doing Rapper's Delight on stage with the DJ, and a fucking, like, conga line of strippers, like, around him and shit. I mean, it was like a fucking Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like one like a night you can only have in, like, the movies, dude. Like
straight out of a John Hughes movie.
Straight out of a John Hughes movie.
Like, I found the bathroom and got lost on my way back and, like, walked on stage to this little VIP room where there was this hot, broad DJ, like, spinning. And, like, I walked on, it was like, literally, I walked on stage and there was a microphone. And they started playing Rapper's Delight. She was all like,
go for it. So we did.
Well, okay. So thankfully I know that fucking song.
Yeah. So then after that, we got off stage, we danced all these chicks, and they started having their lame awards, like, Stripper of the Year.
We figured the night couldn't get any better.
Yeah, so
But it probably could have gotten a lot worse.
It probably could have gotten a lot worse.
We split.
So we broke out, and that was one of the many tales, but, yeah. Just kind of the everyday fun of a wrestler's life there for you.
Yeah.
Young
Well, thank you.
Star. Oh, thanks, too.
Thank you very much.
That's it? We got more stories.
We got more stories.
Part
But we'll
two.
tell you another
Part
time.
two,
Jesus
coming.
Christ. Coming. Fuck off, dude. I would have got a few punches in.
Only if he was